All right, everybody, it is Sunday. Welcome to the Sunday recap. Make sure before we go any further, we're about to dive deep. I'm talking putting on the scuba gear. Let's go look at the coral reef and find a new fish deep into another great day of college
Good on
football
that.
yesterday. We're also going to preview the NFL from today, and fantasy questions going to take that. Not really life fantasies, more fantasy football questions, but if you do have one of those, if it is, let's say, NC 17 and above, you can go ahead and throw that in there. But make sure you hit that like button and subscribe as well. Remember, if you do donate, that question goes to the top. Pretty easy. The bread talks, the other stuff walks. Co-host David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, former Heisman candidate.
Hey,
and current NFL free agent, and
there you
also my
go.
brother.
Waiting on the call.
Yeah, former
Waiting
Western
on that
State,
call,
Colorado
man.
wide
Waiting on the
receiver
call,
and
man.
current NFL free agent. They say he's got a little Cooper Cup in him. I don't know. Guys, I want to start. All right, we got to jump right in. I want to start with Syracuse and Clemson. All right,
Let's
we're going to
do
go
it.
big games, then down to the conferences, by conference, and then go smaller games and get to your questions. All right, so let's start out with Syracuse and Clemson. Here's my thing, guys. When you look at Syracuse and you watch the way this game went from the jump, it went about exactly how it should have or how Syracuse would have wanted it. They jumped out into a lead. They were fine up front. I was very surprised early in that game, guys, that we weren't seeing more of a pass rush out of 4 down from the Clemson defense. If you saw, they adjusted and just started going 3 down because they realized they weren't getting pressure, but they were still getting killed with wide receivers sitting in the zones, but Sean Tucker out of the backfield as well. Clemson was having to adjust and playing on their heels, and the old DJU got off the bus yesterday. We haven't seen it in 3 to 4 weeks. We've all talked about how his timing's improved, how his decision-making has improved, how his ability to make big plays in big moments or just not screw it up in big moments. It kind of reared its ugly head, and they had to make the switch yesterday, which I think Dabo, that was a smart move. But Cone, it feels almost like in that second half, when you look and Clemson's down 21-10 at home, Clemson gets the ball to start the second half. They come out and have to punt their first drive. It's like Syracuse looked up at the scoreboard and were like, guys, we just can't screw this up. And they lost that attacking mindset. It seemed like Syracuse automatically went on defense for the rest of the second half.
Yeah, it was like they couldn't play from ahead. You know, I know it's intimidating being on the road at Clemson. There's a 37 game home win streak on the line there. But let's go back to our keys to victory from Friday, Jake. You and I said the Syracuse defense should put a lot of pressure on DJU, see if he could make some mistakes, force him into some of those errors that he's had in the past. Blaine, you said they should rush 3 and drop 8 a little bit more, try and keep things in front of them. Well, guess what, boys? They did both. They were mixing it up, and they were effective with both of them. Huge fourth down stops, one of which even led to a defensive touchdown, which not only flipped the field, but you keep Clemson from scoring, and you get a touchdown out of it with your defense. 4 turnovers. Look, man, Syracuse played as well as they could have in the first. And then in the second half, I mean, Jake, like they played as poorly in the second half as they played brilliantly in the first. They fell apart, man, like a soggy trash bag. And Cade Klubnik coming in for Clemson. Look, you called it several weeks ago, but now DJ Uiagalelei has been playing so well. He's made it up on some Heisman list, that we were talking about the last couple of weeks. All of a sudden, couple turnovers get forced. We see Cade Klubnik, but that wasn't the turning point in the game for me when he entered, because he was even forced into making a mistake early on the 3rd and 25 there. It was the late hit out of bounds by Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I don't care what Syracuse or anti-Clemson fans want to say, it was a late hit. And then that flipped the game around. Now, the very next drive, when you had Garrett Schrader go out of bounds, that was a late hit as well that wasn't called. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was one call against Syracuse that was not made, but to me, that wasn't the difference. And honestly, Syracuse was so inept on offense, they should be glad that call wasn't made, because it gave them a chance to score again on defense. I mean, they were punt, interception on their 7 drives in the second half. It's just not good enough when you're trying to beat a team and snap a 37-game home win streak.
Yeah, Blaine, Robert and I, the offensive coordinator, we've talked about the coordinator hires that Dino Babers made and how good of a job he did and how they've been paying dividends. It was so surprising for me to see them in the second half not make the adjustments necessary and then really not make the plays. If you go back, I mean, they had a couple drops. You had a drop on a 3rd down that was huge. You can complain all you want about the late hit, and that was a penalty. All right, but like you said, Cone, that there's more than that play that decided the game. How about you catch the ball on 3rd and 8? All right. And you never really get into that situation. But Blaine, after watching this game, I know Clemson typically struggles with Syracuse. We've seen this movie before,
Mm-hmm.
but are you buying Clemson with the way Michigan's playing right now and TCU keeps on winning? We're going to get to that. Are you buying Michigan as the top 4 team right now?
Yeah, I would. But I think Clemson's got the easiest track to the playoffs. I mean, it's so easy for them to get in. And look at the rest of their schedule. Syracuse was kind of their last hump. And I think you saw 2 different teams. You saw one team who knows what it's like to be there behind in second half, who has a championship program and stability behind them. And then one team who's kind of the new kid on the block. And you saw him come out in the second half and didn't really know how to handle it. I think Garrett Trader's a good quarterback. I think Syracuse is a good football team, but what they did in the second half is inexcusable. I thought for the first half, they beat Clemson on all 3 phases of the ball. Special teams, offense, and defense looked like a better team. DJU kind of regressed a little bit, but still Dabo came out and said he's going to be their starter. Cade came in and did good, but Clemson's just walking to the playoffs at this point. It's going to, I think, a one-loss team. I don't know if a one-loss team is going to get in the playoffs at this point, unless you're Alabama. It's going to come down to conference champions. But I still think Syracuse, don't keep your head down on this. You're having a great loss to a really good Clemson team, really good defense. This might be the only game you lose all year. So we'll see. If you're Syracuse, definitely keep your head up.
Maddie, the playoff extension is going to start probably 2024. That's what it's looking at right now. It's not going to be this year. Remember, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Donations, get your question asked faster. Let's go to Ole Miss and LSU, guys. This is a game that we talked about. Absolutely nailed this one on the show. A lot of money came in for LSU when Ole Miss was starting at -1. And one thing we talked about, guys, and we really harped on during the week, and something that I believe was that when it came down to it, Jaden Daniels pushing the ball down the field unlocked another level for this LSU offense. And what did you see? Him do the exact same thing, basically. He did at Florida, and what did that open up, especially in the second half? The run game, you started to see Armani Goodwin be able to lean forward. Those holes were getting a little bit wider. You saw in the short passing game, especially on third down, whether it was Besh, whether it was Malik Neighbors, whether it was Booty being able to sit down in those zones, and Jaden Daniels was making the right reads because he was threatening you deep. And then you see the deep pass for a touchdown to really set the tone when they got down that they were coming back. I mean, Jaden goes 21 of 28 for 250, finishes with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, goes for 121 on 3 carries and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Guys, Jaden Daniels was the most dynamic playmaker on that field. Now, you can look at Ole Miss, and we can talk about the struggles when they got up, and then LSU made them start dribbling a little bit with their left hand, and they put some game pressure on them because Ole Miss was just cruising early in this game. But if you've watched LSU, it's the same movie over and over again. They get down early, make adjustments, and find a way to win in the second half. They almost did it against Florida State. They did it against Mississippi State. They did it against Florida. They did it against Auburn. They just did it against Ole Miss. And guys, we didn't think Ole Miss was the number 7 ranked team in the country, but they still can win the West. Ole Miss is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. Still hosting Bama. And when you look at the schedule that LSU has remaining, it's not exactly a walk in the park. LSU could drop too. But this is a huge win, in my opinion, for Brian Kelly and this program. You are seeing Jaden Daniels get better as the year goes on. That is one of the telltale signs if the program is moving in the right direction. He's starting to utilize the ball down the field, and you're seeing this LSU defense, guys, become a little bit more dangerous. Blaine, what did you think about this game off the cuff? Because it was a hell of a game. I mean, Judkins
the thing about
goes for 111 and 2.
You come out, you go up 17-3. Okay. Then you get outscored 42-3.
You got your ass whipped. There's no bones.
That's what I don't understand, especially from a Lane Kiffin coach team. Jaden Daniels had a great game. I still don't understand how Ole Miss doesn't realize after so many weeks of watching film how to keep this man in the pocket. I feel like the D-line did a terrible job. But Jaden did push the ball down the field and have over 120 yards rushing. And the biggest key for me for this entire game was LSU's D-line. LSU's defensive line is starting to look like an LSU D-line should look.
And that's without Mason Smith, who got
and that's
hurt
without Mason
first
Smith, a bunch
series
of,
of the
pieces.
season.
And what do we always say when it comes to second half adjustment? This is on coaching. Brian Kelly is kicking people's asses in the second half of football games. Go through their schedule. Jake brought it up earlier. They're a dangerous second half team. and Jay Daniels is only getting more and more comfortable in the pocket. And it just looks like he's starting to trust his keys. He's starting to trust his eyes and not just rely on his feet. He has a good mix of both. He'll take off when he needs to take off, and he'll push the ball down the field when he needs to push the ball down the field. LSU is turning into a dangerous team. Like we said, it only takes a little bit. If all the guys for LSU start swimming in the same direction, they're as scary as any team in the nation. They'll give Bama a run for their money. I think they have Texas A&M, as a scrappy UAB team left, Alabama and Arkansas. I mean, there's a couple of games in there they could drop. I mean, they might only drop one or none. So LSU could be a problem because Jayden Daniels is starting to figure it out in front of our eyes.
Well, Cone, that's my thing. If I'm an LSU fan, yeah, I'm excited about this year. I'm excited that we have an opportunity to do some things at the end of the year. And it's got to be nice to watch the season not fall off the cliff the way it had with Ed Orgeron the past couple after winning the Natty in 2019. But if I'm an LSU fan, I am so excited about Jayden Daniels next year, watching this progression right now, seeing him. Because again, remember, guys, he's on the Sean Clifford window, right? He's got an extra year. I mean, hell, he's going to be at LSU. He's going to play college for 30 years. But if I'm an LSU fan looking ahead to next year, looking at those two freshman tackles coming back, some of that youth, Mason Smith hopefully coming back for that defense. Now that Jayden Daniels has cracked the code a little bit, he pulled an Alan Turing, just don't bite the apple. Next year, LSU is looking a lot more dangerous than they were a couple weeks ago.
No doubt. And I don't care what Matt Moscona says. I'm not giving up on LSU to win the West this year. Now, Alabama did come out and look quite strong yesterday, and maybe Alabama will still win the SEC West. But this was a great football game. I of all the unbeaten teams coming into this weekend, I was the least sold on Ole Miss, and we knew how back heavy that schedule was. So I am not surprised that LSU beat them in Baton Rouge. What I am surprised about is Ole Miss had a 17-3 lead, and they end up losing the game 45-20. And you know what? Jackson Dart was actually effective through the air. I mean, he had over 200 yards passing in the
early
first half.
Lane's script. Lane's first 12 to 15 plays were deadly.
Exactly, because
Mingo was killing him.
He knew all you heard all week was the Ole Miss run game, Ole Miss run game. But what does Lane Kiffin do? He makes Jackson Dart effective through the air early, which was brilliant to me. But if you told me that one of these teams rushed for 252 and the other rushed for 116, boys, look, all of us would have said, oh, well, Ole Miss is going to rush for 252. That wasn't the case. And look, now it's a three-way tie for the SEC West. Now you got Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama, all one conference loss. I think that thing is wide open, especially when you consider the fact that Alabama goes to Oxford and Alabama goes to Baton Rouge. But all praise to Jayden Daniels, 370 total yards of offense, 5 touchdowns. I didn't think he was capable of playing that kind of football when he transferred from Arizona State. So LSU has to be pretty thrilled right now in year one of Brian Kelly.
Well, what's crazy is I think Jayden Daniels is turning into what we thought Anthony Richardson was going to be. It's a great question from Brad David here. Do y'all think Nick Saban should have sat Jermaine Burton last night? We talked about this on the show. Yes. You know, at worst, you shoved a girl in the face. Or excuse me, at best, you shoved a girl in the face. At worst, you punched a girl in the face. I don't want to hear, and look, do I want this to ruin Jermaine Burton's whole life? Do I have a vendetta against Jermaine Burton? I do not. But I do not have respect for people that lay their hands on women outside of if their life's being threatened. Your life better be being threatened. I don't care if she put a camera in her face, which it looks by the video that she didn't. It looked like you were frustrated after losing a big game. The girl kind of got in your way a little bit. I think fans shouldn't storm the field until the players are off. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what mechanism you can use. Storm the court until the players are off. Same thing in college basketball. But in no way, shape, or form should Jermaine Burton have played last night. I don't want to hear another thing from Nick Saban about integrity or character or, you know, doing this to make men better. You pretty much sold your soul last night, in my opinion, because you were worried about Mississippi State. I've got a ton of respect for Nick Saban and what he's accomplished. I think it was a low point in Nick Saban's career last night that Jermaine Burton, who is on video, and I'm not talking about the law. The law has to investigate. It takes time for those investigations to come to fruition. But you're the head football coach. There's been a lot of guys that were suspended on more. I'll give you a great example. Tennessee's playing Alabama last week. Their starting safety, or one of their best DBs, McCullough, gets arrested for an incident, kind of a battery incident when a drunk guy walked into his house. He kind of went out. They were investigating it. Tennessee didn't play him. The law didn't say you didn't have to play him. Tennessee decided to not play him in the biggest game in Knoxville in the past 20 years, and they decided not to play him. But not Nick Saban. not Alabama. It's just too important. You can put your hands on women and you can still play. It's just the truth. You can be mad. And people that want to be Alabama fans and defend it, sometimes you got to take your fan hat off. Sometimes you got to put that to the side. Or people who want to say, oh, because he looks a certain way, you want to degrade him. No, sometimes you got to take the hat off as a fan and say, you know what, this just isn't right. And it's not right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was surprised to see him play, and I was surprised to see Chris Fowler in the booth running defense for him in terms of saying that in the last game he thought his life was in danger, basically, or whatever phrasing they use. But yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe they said they handled it internally. I don't know. The kid still played in the football game. Maybe there will be disciplinary action, but it certainly wasn't yesterday.
Well, the way they should have handled it internally was they should have drove that girl up to the studio and let her slap the hell out of Jermaine Burton in the locker room. That'd been a way to handle it evenly. But outside of that, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I someone agree. I don't think. I mean, Jermaine Burton would be the difference between if Alabama beat Mississippi State or not. I think if he needed to get suspended, Nick would have suspended him. I think Nick has a pretty good track record of taking care of stuff like this.
But I mean, you've seen the video, though. You've seen the video.
Yeah, I saw the video, but I'm saying if Nick was going to suspend him, Jermaine Burton wasn't the difference whether Alabama was going to beat.
No. That nobody's saying that, but what we're saying, should he have been suspended or not? Is
for sure. Question. Well, they said they're investigating internally. I don't know if they're going to come out later and suspend him or what the deal is. But Nick Saban has a pretty good track record when it comes to stuff like this of disciplining players, of regards to what it is. I don't know if he just missed on this or what the deal is. I would love to hear further explanation on it. But I feel like Nick doesn't do a good job. If he wants him out, they have enough talent at that receiver position for sure. I mean, the kid only had 2 receptions versus Mississippi State, so he wasn't a huge difference or outlier in that game. But I mean, still, I always will fall on the sword. You shouldn't put your hands on women in any circumstance unless your life is in danger or you can't remove yourself from the situation. It is disgusting on every level. I still think fans need to be very weary when you run on the field. Those are grown men who just got beat on a 4-quarter physical football game that they're dedicating their life to. It's not an excuse for that man to put his hands on that woman. But in general, I do think players should be able to get off the field before fans can storm it.
Yep. All right. Hunter Fournette. He said, I don't know if y'all already covered this, but LSU clapped those Ole Miss cheeks last night.
Yeah,
let's go. Go Tigers. Yes, Hunter. We did cover it. A great game, obviously, for Jaden Daniels and LSU. And on to the next one. The next one becomes as big, and it's big for Ole Miss, too. I mean, hell, you've got an Auburn team coming in that should be a very winnable game. You got Alabama coming in. But, guys, let's stay in the SEC real quick. Alabama did handle Mississippi State. Mississippi State going to that is like Krypton. Tuscaloosa is like planet Krypton for Mississippi State. They just do not go in there and play well. Alabama from the jump was able to shut down the air raid. It seemed like Mississippi State wasn't really able to get any rhythm on offense. They'd convert a couple third downs and then they'd go disappear for a while. They did drop some big passes, but guys, I mean, Bryce Young, the only person I've seen manipulate time better than Bryce Young is Dr. Strange. I mean, the dude's unbelievable in the pocket.
You just cannot rush 3 and drop 8 against this guy. And that's what Mississippi State tried to do. We're going to rush 3 and we're going to drop 8. Well, guess what? He's going to find a guy. He's going to find a guy. It's going to be deep downfield, and then you're cooked. And then you got a chance to see what happens when the air raid's not working, right? Now, Tennessee, as fast as they were going on offense, they were scoring a lot of points, right? But when you're going fast and when you're throwing the ball around the yard a lot and it's not working, you just give Alabama opportunities to extend the football game. And look, Nick Saban running up and down the field yelling with 20 seconds left when they're up 30. That's the reason this guy always finds a way. Even when his football teams aren't playing great, he finds a way to make the college football playoff. He finds a way to win the SEC and win national championships. So I don't know. I thought it was a great bounce back performance from Alabama against a Mississippi State team who's played some great football this season, you know?
Yeah, they've been back and forth. Go ahead, Mike.
There's only one thing scarier than going to play Alabama is going to play Alabama after a loss.
Yeah,
it's not a winning recipe. This game was minus 21 points. And, I thought the spread was too much. After the way the Mississippi State's been playing this year, I mean, I know Mississippi State didn't look good against Kentucky, but still Will Rogers is a phenomenal quarterback. This system is phenomenal. And the one thing I did like from Mississippi State is they had 90 yards rushing. They did put it on the ground a little bit, which was excited to see. I mean, Will Rogers ended with minus 27 rushing yards. That kind of hurts the entire rushing yard stat right there. But Bryce Young is just I'm trying to go back and really rack my brain. When's the last time I've seen someone as good as Bryce Young?
Like
he's different. Like
in the pocket and out of the feel. It's like it's almost like when you watch Daredevil, you know, the blind superhero that just has sonar, like he can hear. It's like Bryce, like a bat. Like he just puts out a noise and he can just feel where everybody is, or like the part on the Dark Knight when he's got to go attack the Joker's building and he's looking at all the people inside of it. It's just, he's a witch at the highest level. Bryce just puts on Cerebro and goes out there and balls, and he's going to have to. With the layout of this team and the makeup of this team that still has to go to Oxford, still has to go down to Death Valley at LSU at night, which now that game, I mean, if LSU can stay above water and keep this three-way tie until that game gets played, it's going to be absolutely bonkers at that place. Nick Saban going to play Brian Kelly, the matchup we all saw coming, we all wanted deep down inside. But I tell you what, guys, another matchup that really touched me deep down inside, and not in a way where you'd have to have Chris Hansen tell you to sit down, is TCU comes back again, guys. I watched every snap of this game because I really wanted to see TCU kind of how they respond after that close game where they had to come back against Oklahoma State. Kansas State, guys, Adrian Martinez goes out. That's fine. Will Howard comes in, goes 13-20 for 225, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Also did pretty well on the ground. Deuce Vaughn didn't go over 100, but did have a touchdown. But, guys, TCU shuts out Kansas State in the second half, defensively finding a way to put them over the edge. Because while the offense, did score points, you end up with 38 points. Duggan went 17-26. For 260 and 3 touchdowns. Good day at the office. And you had a 150-yard rusher with 2 scores. They really had to rely on the defense early to keep them in this game because K-State was putting TCU in 3rd and long, making plays behind the line of scrimmage, and K-State should have had more. They scored 21 points in the second quarter, guys, and could have had more. I think it just goes to show you, and let's pull up that TCU schedule.
I have it right here
at the back end. This team, guys, I'm just telling you, I've watched them win in multiple ways, and they have the cats at the quarterback position and at the skill position to go score against anybody. Can you imagine, Cone, before you read that schedule, if TCU and Tennessee played, how good of a game would that be? I mean, pop the popcorn, put on the PJs, tell mama to leave, daddy's happy, all right? Throw that one on.
4th consecutive win over ranked teams. 3 consecutive was already a TCU record. Now, 4th consecutive win, back-to-back comeback performances. Now, here's the thing, boys. 3 of the next 4 are on the road, okay? They're going to go to West Virginia, but that game's very winnable, right?
Very
Texas
winnable.
Tech at home,
very
and then
winnable.
they go to Texas, and then they go to Baylor. All right. So, I don't know. I'm looking at that Texas game in Austin. That's going to be very interesting, but I don't know. Anybody who says that it's impossible for this TCU team to run the table and be unbeaten. Yeah, they really could.
Yeah, and we're going to get into Texas, Oklahoma State in a second. Michael, I hope I said this right. Hochfelder with a $1.99 donation. What do you think is in store for the Florida Gators? Look, the roller coaster ride is just starting for Florida. You can make – right now, you can have observations, right? You can see kind of the way that the games are going for Florida. You're looking at clock management. How many procedure penalties are we getting? And then you're looking at recruiting. I don't think at the end of this year, you can sit here and say, oh, Billy was the right hire, Billy was the wrong hire. I don't think you can do that right now. You've got to give him time because that roster, while there is athletes, okay, Florida will always have athletes. And I'm not saying Florida's roster was as depleted as South Carolina's was when Shane got there, or was as depleted as Arkansas's was when Coach Pittman got there. When I look at Florida's roster, what Billy can bring in and the way they're recruiting right now, Anthony Richardson's probably gone after this year. I'd go ahead and lock that one in. You are going to really see what Billy Napier is made of after a year in this league next year with a new quarterback, with some guys returning in that system, with some ads from the portal, and the way he recruits. So I think Florida's fine. I don't think you should panic. I don't think you should be celebrating in the streets. I think it is still sitting back and waiting until we can make a legitimate call on Billy Napier. But the way they're recruiting right now, I would still feel very good if I was a Florida fan. I would not send the ship into port already in year 1 when Billy's still getting his feet wet.
Yep. No, go ahead, Blaine.
No, I agree. I mean, I kind of said before this year started, I was somewhat weary of the Billy Napier hire, but you kind of go look at the games and how they played. I mean, you lost to a good Kentucky team. You lost to a good LSU team who was only getting better. And you won some big games, too. You lost to a Tennessee team by 5, who right now is looking like one of the best teams in the nation. So Billy, I like the offensive scheme he's setting in. I know AR-15 is going to be gone, but if there's one thing Billy Napier can do, and that's coach up a quarterback. Right now, you just want to get your roster right. Billy's doing a lot better job than earlier than recruiting. So I think the future is bright for Florida, but you have to give them time. Not everything's just going to be perfect and how you want it early when a coach gets in there. So I'm starting to believe more and more in Billy Napier. I mean, the schedule is not going to be super easy. I believe you go to Georgia. You got a couple of rough games left, but I do think you have Vandy on that schedule, which might be a little tight one. There's a lot of expectations down there at Vanderbilt. But other than that, no. But I think Billy's doing a good job. And if you're Florida, I don't think you should be upset or happy or kind of where you're at right now. And in the words of Flaming Dragons, sometimes you just got to keep it steady.
Yes, trying to keep it steady. I will say LSU and Bama both have a bye this week, and then Bama goes to LSU. So you better strap it up 2 weeks from now. It's going to get really, really, really weird here late. But guys, I tell you what, speaking of weird, UCLA defensively yesterday, and we all knew that UCLA wasn't this juggernaut on defense, and we love the physicality they played with on offense. Defense and special teams cost UCLA that game yesterday. Now, Bo Nix played perfect. He played about as good as you possibly could play. I mean, hell, 22 of 28, 283, 5 touchdowns, 96.3 QBR rating. You get 6 carries for 51 yards, running it when you have to. UCLA could not get off the field on third down. They couldn't. And it wasn't like Oregon was out here reinventing offense. They were lining up and running split zone on 3rd and 8 and getting it. I was very disappointed with the UCLA defense. Like I said, not that they were going to shut Oregon out, but you would think they would slow them up enough to let DTR and Charbonnet, because the offense wasn't like the offense had a bad day. It felt like they never had the ball in the first half. Then you come out and surprise onside kick, unacceptable from the 2 interior frontline guys on kickoff return from UCLA. You have got to see ball off foot. We talked about it all the time. Ball off foot, ball off foot, ball off foot. Before I turn and run, and I'm still giving flash looks on the way back. We used to call it 2 flash and go. They just took off. And you saw Oregon work it. And from that point on, UCLA was playing catch up the rest of the game and could not stop Oregon on offense. You have to give Oregon credit. They just lined up on offense and whipped their ass. There isn't some schematical genius in here. There wasn't a new play that was invented. There was, it wasn't like a scientist went and found a new animal in the jungle or something and came back. They just lined up, did what Oregon always does. Dude, nobody covered the wheel. I haven't seen somebody not cover the wheel that much since Edo took that team and ended up winning the game down to play Dan Mullen in Florida, because nobody runs more wheel routes than Dan Mullen. But Oregon absolutely filleted UCLA
to the boundary too.
To the boundary,
formation to the boundary all day long,
FIB.
guys. I can't tell you how excited I was to watch 2 really, really great football teams play yesterday in the Pac-12, and balanced football teams too. We talk about good Bo Nix and bad Bo Nix, but one of the things we don't talk about, perfect Bo Nix, because Jake, just like you said, that's what he was. He was perfect. I mean, he was dropping dimes all over the field, and it wasn't just like Oregon was throwing the ball all over the place on UCLA. They were rushing the football. I mean, they ran for 262, and they were running between the tackles. They said, look, we're going to beat you at your own game. What was so interesting to watch both of these teams is their ability to be explosive and to be physical. And Oregon was matching UCLA in the physicality toe for toe. Now, Charbonnet still had 151 on 20 carries. Look, he's going to get his, but Oregon top to bottom just looked fantastic. And I'm telling you right now, let me make a case quickly for Oregon making the playoffs despite the 49-3 loss at the beginning of the season. Obviously, you need to run the table. Right? You need to run the table and you need to win decisively. But let's just say Clemson goes ahead and wins the ACC and is undefeated. And then either Michigan or the Buckeyes or somebody in the Big Ten, you have an undefeated Big Ten champ. What you would need then, right, is TCU to at least lose a game, so that you can compare yourself against a 1-loss conference champ while you're a 1-loss conference champ. And then Georgia. You need Tennessee to go into Georgia, and for Georgia to not only win that football game, but win decisively. Beat Tennessee by 3 touchdowns or more, and then go to the SEC championship and win by 3 touchdowns or more, regardless if that's against Alabama, if that's against Ole Miss, if that's against against LSU. In that case right there, at least you would be forcing the committee to say, okay, Tennessee is a 1-loss team, but so are we. We lost to the same opponent and we're still a conference champ. In that scenario, at least you would have the committee say, we lost early, we got better every single week, and we're beating good football teams in the Pac-12, which I think could then at least they would have a case.
No, look, I'm with you there. Here's what I think has to happen for Oregon to get in, because one team from the Big Ten's getting in. Let's go ahead and pencil Clemson in right now. Anything can happen. By the way, if the super chat isn't working, guys, it should be here soon. I don't know what the deal is on that. I'm not Steve Jobs. We have somebody on it though. When I look at Oregon, here's the path. You have to, in my opinion, you have to hope that Alabama loses either at Ole Miss or at LSU, because that gives them 2 losses. The chances of Ole Miss or LSU beating Georgia, I believe, are a lot lower, obviously, than what they are for Alabama. That gives everybody 2 losses. Ole Miss, even if they go in there with just 1 loss, or LSU, if they were to go in there with 1 loss, you would feel good about taking Georgia in that game. That would give LSU or Ole Miss 2 losses. Bama would already have 2 losses. The SEC would most likely only get 1 team in, and I think it would come down to Clemson would be in, one of Ohio State, Michigan would be in, Georgia would be in, and then you say, okay, we have TCU out there, we have Oregon out there, and we have Tennessee out there. Let's say Tennessee only finishes with 1 loss, and that's at Georgia. All right, if TCU wins the Big 12, let's say TCU loses a game. Let's say TCU loses at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
TCU lost late, Oregon lost early.
Mm-hmm.
You're both conference champs. When you look at those losses, every loss is not created equal. A loss against Georgia, even at the beginning of the year, is a lot better than a loss at Texas at the end of the year.
Yep.
So to me, you've got to hope that Alabama drops one of these on the road, and you got to hope TCU loses the game. If that happens, I think you're a shoe-in. Where it gets weird, though, is if Clemson wins and the only loss that Michigan has is to Ohio State, or the only loss Ohio State has to Michigan, it's going to get really weird.
Well, you got to put a conference champion in. I mean,
Maybe.
you got to.
Maybe.
I mean, you got to. I mean, then what? I mean, what's the championship?
But
Maybe,
here's what we're saying though. If Clemson's in, ACC conference champ, Georgia's in, and one of Ohio State and Michigan is in, TCU can win the Big 12 and Oregon can win the Pac-12, and a conference champion's still going to we're saying is out of those 2, which one are you taking?
For sure.
You would think Big 12.
I would take Oregon.
Or
you
how
would
about
think
this?
Big 12 because it's a better conference, but you lost late, and one lost early. One was to Georgia. One would be, let's just say, to Texas.
In that scenario, in that scenario for sure, I think you could pick either one, and maybe Oregon. I mean, it's always better to lose early than it is to lose late. But Blaine, even here, let's say Tennessee does lose late at Georgia and loses by 1. Okay, if Tennessee loses by 1 in between the hedges on a true road game, when Oregon played the same team early in the season and lost 49-3 on a neutral site, quote unquote neutral site, it was in Georgia's backyard. I get it. Then you have a scenario where, yes, it's better to lose early than lose late, but it's also better to lose by 1 on a road game than it is to lose by 46 at a neutral site. To me, there's still a conversation to be had.
Yeah, and Peter, I'm just using the Texas loss as an example. If TCU were to lose one, if they were to stumble to anybody along the way.
Well, if Tennessee would get in, it wouldn't feel right. Everyone would want Tennessee, but the right thing to do would be to put Oregon in. Like if you're a conference champion, right, and Tennessee loses game, whether Georgia by 1, by 6, or whatever it is, I mean, it's going to suck that you're not going to get in. But the championship games have to matter, or get away with conferences, or just get away with them. But
what if it's a 3-loss conference champion?
Okay, then that's different. But if I'm comparing 1 loss to 1 loss, if it's a 1-loss team to 1-loss team, and one team's a conference champion, all right. In the conference, I know the Pac-12 is not great, but I don't think they're trash, right? I think Pac-12 surprised some people this year.
Look, man, I'm looking at 4 or 5 teams in the Pac-12 right now that I think are really good football teams.
Do I think Tennessee's a better team than Oregon? I do, but I still think
I'll take that over
Oregon in because they're a conference championship, and their only loss to is Georgia. And then one thing I want to say about Bo Nix, and people, look, guys, Auburn was the problem, okay? Auburn was the problem for Bo Nix. I know he went to the Pac-12. It's a little bit easier. All this good Bo Nix, bad Bo Nix stuff. I think Bo Nix has 2 records in the SEC of the amount of attempts without throwing an interception. For 2 years, like 130-plus attempts without throwing a pick. You see what Bo Nix is becoming, all right? Bo Nix is a solid quarterback. He can run it, throw it. I mean, his QBR, I think he had a 97 QBR in that game against UCLA, which is phenomenal. I'm this guy to see, especially from being an Auburn fan, to see Bo Nix succeed, where he has tools around him that set him up for success, not who's going to play tackle today.
Yeah. Please, God help us up front, like it was at Auburn. And look, You know, sometimes that fresh start for Breeze Brothers style is something that's good. Justin Decker, is Robbie Ashford a young Hendon Hooker, or
No.
could he be better? He's got to improve a lot as a thrower. Look, his running. I would not be shocked if by the time the next Auburn coach comes in, Robbie Ashford's playing receiver. I would not be shocked at all if Robbie Ashford was out there playing X or even Y, or you see him returning some. Because I'll say this, Robbie Ashford can absolutely skate. All right, nobody can. He's faster to me than Jaden Daniels. Like watching him, like when he's really, really running, Robbie. There's a reason he was, regarded the way he was. But I bet he finishes his career at Auburn, if he does stay at Auburn, at wide receiver and on the baseball team. Because I think you've got a guy named Holden Gariner. TJ Finley's Gonzo the Clown. I mean, he pretty much iced that cupcake when his daddy came out complaining to everybody. Which, even if you're right. Which I think there was a little bit of truth in what his dad was saying. Even if you're right, then it's still not a good look. Like if I'm looking at quarterbacks in the transfer portal and I'm looking at TJ Finley, I don't want TJ Finley. Number one, because you throw it to the other team more than you throw to yours, but also your dad's out here going on shows trashing the program and stuff. Like that's going to hurt TJ Finley worse than any interception he threw. But I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if Robbie Ashford was playing wide receiver by the time a new head coach came in and that he had success. I think it'll work out even better than moving Cody Burns to wide receiver. So I think he's a better thrower than Cody Burns, but so is this cup of coffee I have right here. So I think Robbie's talented. There's some ways to use him. I don't see him as a long-term solution as a quarterback. But again, we've seen crazier things happen.
Hey, one more thing on Oregon's schedule here. They go to Cal, they go to Colorado. Okay, so if you're going to have 2 back-to-back road games, those are good opponents to play on the road. And then the 3-game stretch to end the season: Washington at home, Utah at home, and then they go to Oregon State. So tough 3-game stretch State, there, man. But 2 of those 3 are at home, boys, for Oregon.
I mean, look, I had these guys winning the Pac-12. I had Oregon winning the Pac-12. We'll see if that comes true. But Robbie Ashford, to your point, Jake, 2 things here. One, whoever said cold pizza is awful, Cone, figure it out.
Cold pizza is
figure
trash.
It out, David.
I know that
pizza is phenomenal.
I know my wife.
That. And Robbie Ashford,
is somewhere.
Ashford should be playing center field somewhere. The dude's a center fielder. That's what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. The kid, he's not a quarterback. If anything, put him at the slot. I mean, just give him some jet sweeps. The kid's not a quarterback. I mean, you see his ceiling. He'll never, I repeat, never be Hendon Hooker.
No, yeah. I don't think he'll ever throw it as good as Hendon Hooker. Look, Hendon's a legitimate thrower of the ball. Like Hendon isn't out there just like throwing the fastball. It's like you realize how good Hendon Hooker is when Joe Milton comes in the game. You're like that's when you know. Like they brought Joe Milton. It's like Joe Milton can throw it 8,000 yards, but
which he can,
but not to anybody.
But if the receiver runs 1,000 yards and you throw 8,000 yards, that's where the problem is. 2 things on Tennessee here, real quick. And you can say Tennessee played UT Martin yesterday. I don't care. Tennessee scored on every drive in the first half. That's tough to do if you're playing on air, boys. Yeah. They scored on every single drive, and then more impressively, Hendon Hooker 19 straight games with a pass TD.
Look, he's incredible. Like I'll keep saying he's the most dangerous hooker since Eileen Warnos, man. It's just the truth. He's a monster. Oklahoma State 41-34 over Texas, guys. Spencer Sanders, you didn't know if he was going to play. Oh, my shoulder hurts, but now so do your feelings after getting that dub. With the way it went down, I mean, Texas, you kept feeling like Texas was going to run away with it, right? You kept feeling like that. But again, early, Quinn Ewers comes out and throws the pick, just overthrows the slant on the first drive. We've seen him struggle a little bit early the last 2 games, but I think it goes to show you the makeup of this Oklahoma State team. Because think about this, guys. You go play TCU. You're playing a hell of a game. You're up 24-7. It's going good. Your quarterback gets beat up. You end up losing that lead late. TCU rips your guts out at the end. But you're able to come back, I know it's at home, but a Texas team that has Bijan Robinson, that has Worthy, that has, I mean, Rashawn Johnson, the backup for Texas, could go start at 90% of schools right now. That dude's an absolute freak. The offensive line's playing pretty well, and a defense that has improved from last year. And yet you are able to find the mental fortitude and the intestinal fortitude to come back, not only make it a game and tie it up at 34-34, then get a big stop stop and go score to win the game. I thought Spencer Sanders really gutted this one out. I felt like Oklahoma State deserved this one. I mean, he went 34 of 57, which isn't the greatest completion rate, but you go 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 43 yards. You did have the one pick. It was a bad one in the red zone. He tried to throw the back shoulder fade, but left it front side. Corner did a good job getting his head around and intercepting it. But guys, I mean, we're talking about TCU winning the Big 12, and obviously they have that big win over Oklahoma State. But if TCU were to falter here, guys, after this win, it looks like Oklahoma State. I mean, Baylor beat Kansas, but Baylor, we've seen them drop a couple. It looks like this Oklahoma State team could slip around, sneak in, and backdoor the Big 12 and win it for 2 straight years.
They're still in it, boys. And last year, Oklahoma State made their presence known on the defensive side of the football. Well, Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, takes off, goes to Columbus. Oklahoma State says, you know what? We'll just go back to winning with shootouts then. I mean, Spencer Sanders yesterday, 393 through the air. And I saw a stat that Spencer Sanders has 11 wins versus top 25 teams the last 2 years. Very, very impressive. And I still think, look, Texas is still a very good football team. I think Steve Sarkisian is really a year away once Quinn Ewers is able to mature a little bit and be fully healthy again. Texas is still going to be a problem moving forward.
Blaine, Texas only scores 3 points in the second half. What great
I don't know what's going on.
defensive
I don't know.
adjustments.
Yeah, I go back to like Sark and Lane are phenomenal schematically. They know what they want. They know what they see early, and they've always been good at second half adjustments. I thought Quinn did not have one of his best games. He kind of looked a little shaky, and you can understand that from a kid who's young. He's going to be fine. But you go look at this Oklahoma State team, man. They're just scrappy. They're supposed to scrap. Like Spencer Sanders is scrappy. This D-line is scrappy. Texas defense gives up 400 yards of passing. That can't happen. That can't happen if you want to take that next step as a program. Your offense is going to be phenomenal. Sark is great. Quinn is great. I mean, you got one of the Mannings coming in next year. But you got to figure this defense out if you're going to have a chance. You might have a chance to win. If you really want to win all the games you need to win, especially in the Big 12 conference, where there's not a lot of defense, if you have a defense that will carry you in this conference and give you a chance in the playoff, because offensively, you have guys that can run with the best in the nation on the offensive side of the ball. Both running backs, you got Bijan, the backup. You have Quinn. I mean, you have Xavier Worthy, a wide receiver. You have guys, but that defense has always been the Achilles heel, and it kind of goes back to Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, right? The offense has been great, but your defense is so bad you get in the playoffs and get your ass kicked on the line of scrimmage. And you can't and this defense was giving up 18 points per game before playing this game, and you give up almost 600 yards of total offense. For the other side, but the defense has to step up. If Texas wants to take the next step in their program, the defense has to become different.
I've been saying it. That's what I said before the year. That's my main thing. Like that's the problem for Oklahoma and Texas has not been offense. Why do you think Oklahoma hired Brent Venables? What is the real reason you think they hired him? Because guess what? I know they're leaving the Big 12, but they're looking around in football and the college football world and saying, all right, name one team with a terrible defense that has ever won the national championship. We've seen teams with elite offenses and just good defenses win it. 2019 LSU, 2010 Auburn, 2020 Bama. Great elite offenses, defenses that are good enough, but you cannot win a national championship with a defense that is terrible. We watched Oklahoma try to do it. We watched Notre Dame try to do it. We watched Florida State try and do it. We watched Washington try and do it. You just can't do it. It's not going to work. The game changes, right? But something that will never change about the game is that it'll be won and lost up front, and you can't be terrible on one side of the ball and win the whole thing. It will never work that way. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. It doesn't work at the highest levels of football in that way. You may be able to get away with it in Friday Night Tights. You may be able to get away with it in JV ball. Hell, there's some lower level high schools, some 7-8 man ball in Montana and Wyoming and all these other places right next to Narnia that it may work in. But it's not going to work in the SEC or in the NFL or in the Big 12 or in the Big 10 to win a national championship, if that is your goal. Guys, scanning around the rest of the SEC here, Texas A&M and South Carolina. I want to say this first, and we actually do got some dono questions. Blaine, can you read those real quick before we hop into this one?
I'm doing a deep dive in here in the chat, boys. There's a lot of pizza talk right now.
There's a lot of
pizza talk, hot pizza, cold pizza, brands of pizza.
Pizza's
I'm trying to get the pro hungry.
When it's cold and it's good when it's warm.
Well, it's trash when it's cold, but I'm trying to get the pro hungry Howie's crew and the pro mellow mushroom crews in the chat going here.
I'm a big mellow mushroom. Let's go to Jeff Collinsworth real quick, Cone. He wants to know, Cone, I never trust a QB who doesn't love his center. What was your center's favorite color and food? And if you don't know these questions, you're going to go ahead and have to hand me your playbook.
Go ahead,
I'm going to keep my playbook. I had 2 great centers, Brennan Palmer, Ryan Waters, the same answer for both of them. Their favorite color, Statesboro blue. All right, there we go. And their favorite food, meat. All right, I don't need to be more specific than that. Chicken wings, pork, ribs, doesn't matter. Ooh, love those boys.
All right, let's go to Kentucky Fried 94 with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Kentucky. I also like my chicken fried. He says, are the Liberty Flames of Fighting Hugh Freezes a threat to make a New York 6? And should they be ranked this week? They're only lost by 1 at Wake Forest.
I CC'd Auburn football on this. I said, oh, what? Hugh Freeze just doing it again. Just doing it again. They slapped BYU around. They beat BYU at their own game. Malik Willis gone. That's fine. Don't worry. We're just going to go 11-1 again. I know he's had a checkered past. You know who else had a checkered past? A lot of people. About 75% of people. Now, did 75% of people call prostitutes on a school phone? No, I get it.
Allegedly.
I get it. Probably about 50%.
Factually.
All right, not
Allegedly.
75%. Allegedly. But guys, the question is, how bad do you want to win? The dude's turned his life around. And how bad do you want to win? Those are the 3 questions. Those are the 3 questions. Look, if I wanted a choir boy, I'd start a choir. Okay, we learn from mistakes. You need to get a guy in here that can witchcraft and wizardry. He's over there doing it in Liberty. All right, They barely have time in between praying and hanging out at the ski resort. They don't have a lot of time for football. Yet they're consistently ranked in the top 25, and they're all rich. It's amazing.
All right, how about next game at Arkansas? How you boys feel about that?
Take Liberty. I'm telling you, take what I need to see. I need to see the spread in that game. But Liberty has figured it out. Arkansas, coming off that game against BYU, I know they were off this week. They've got a tough stretch. Maybe looking forward, pull out the time machine and look forward a little bit. Oh no, how are we down to 3 to Liberty with 4 minutes to go? So that kind of seems like that could be what happened. What could happen? But I see Tender Hot XYZs in the chat. Sweet.
I mean, right when we start talking about Hugh Freeze, we get Tender XYZ dating app.
Hot. That's hot. Super hot. Super
you say
hot.
Hugh Freeze 3 times, just the prostitutes start popping up. Let's go to Ben Sampson, $4.99 donation. He says, B Samp here. He says, trying to buy out Brian Fuentes contract, $4.99 at a time.
Look, I'm to the point now. I think Iowa's quarterback's on the take. Y'all can say what y'all want. I've watched that dude's played enough football to. I mean, it's bad. Like he was throwing it at ghosts. Yesterday.
But they brought the other kid in, and he
Padilla couldn't even get a snap.
It's bad.
He couldn't even get a snap.
It's bad.
It's like Division III. If you've ever seen the football movie Division III, it's like that at quarterback. I mean, where's Mitch DePrima right now? That's the real question for Iowa. But it's so bad. Spencer Petras, the first throws a pick, like literally to the Ohio State person. It's like when Bobby Boucher, when 62 said something about his mother. And the whole time he's like 62. See, and then he picks the ball off, but then he tosses it back to him so he can go jump kick him in the end zone. Yeah. That's what it looked like. Spencer Petras. That's how bad he is. I've seen bad guys, but Iowa needs to be a great example of why nepotism doesn't work. For the most part, they're nepotism in motion. The fact that Brian Ferentz still has a job in collegiate football is laughable at best. Every time I watch that offense, I get worse. Yeah. I watch it like I watch The Conjuring, like this, Cone.
Yeah.
Like I can't watch it with both my eyes. Like it's like the part when Jason jumps out of the closet every time they snap the ball. It's as bad as I've ever seen. They are as bad. And what's sad is the defense is really good. And the defense is legit for Iowa. The Jack Campbell guy who looks 100% like he plays middle linebacker at Iowa, and his name Jack Campbell. I mean, come on, dude. Y'all just pulled this dude out of the cornfields and he just put him out there and started playing. But Blaine, it's as bad as I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I think Iowa's offense is hurting college football in general. It needs to change. It needs to change. I'm sick of seeing it. Week in and week out, it's the same thing. It's been the same thing for the last 300 years. We're not this. It's not the game anymore. Look, running the I formation every play and just running the ball every play is not going to work. It's not going to work. Especially now with the transfer portal, everyone's getting good linemen. You're not bigger than everybody anymore. You're not. You're not. Okay, you're just not. So it's just change. Please change it because I'm just sick. I know Iowa fans got to be sick of watching it.
Yeah, and Jake was talking about nepotism with Brian Ferentz still as the OC. I think that's an easy thing to point out because clearly it hasn't been working. But also, it's part ideology, right? I think Kirk Ferentz still thinks that he can have the best defense in the country and win football games at an elite level, sort of like what Georgia was able to do last year. Well, you know what? That Georgia offense was still good and
Yeah,
much
that was like
much
40
better than
points a
what I
game.
was putting out there. And you're talking about Iowa's defense being elite. They are. And guess what? The Buckeyes still put up 54 points. Now it was a little bit closer in the first half, but once and CJ Stroud did miss some throws in the first half, but that Buckeyes offense went from, making some mistakes to finding a rhythm to, oh yeah, we're elite still.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is an alien. Is an
his
absolute.
route
I didn't
running
realize he was
makes
6'4", David. I
His-
didn't
his
realize he was
route running-
6'4".
I didn't know he was that tall
He's
either
6'4",
because he's running
205.
he's
He runs
running whip
23
routes.
miles per hour.
Yeah,
You know-
he's
you
out
know-
there running
ahead.
whip routes like he's Cooper Cup or something.
Dude, the crazy thing is, like, I love how now we're like, yeah, he doesn't run 4.4. He runs 23 miles per hour. Like, to me, that sounds like so much better than like 4.4. It's like 23 miles per hour. It's like at first you're like, oh, that's not super fast. That's 8 miles per hour faster than you can go in a school zone. Go ahead and run next to a car that's going 23 miles per hour. If you really want to see how fast that is, then imagine that's a 6'4" guy that can get in and out of breaks and has really, really strong hands. And oh yeah, he's a Hall of Famer's son at wide receiver. But at Jigba, you did see him little hitch in the giddy up there. About halfway through that game, something to keep an eye on. He's a guy that's been out, but look, Ohio State's really, really talented. But Iowa, Blaine, what's worse for college football? NIL, the transfer portal within conferences, or Iowa's offense?
Iowa's offense, hands down. It's not even close. That Iowa's offense, and like the people who keep saying that college football would be better if Nebraska's good. No one cares. No one
I
cares.
care.
about Nebraska.
I care.
I think you're wrong.
I care, Blaine.
I think
okay,
you're wrong.
and you're hurting
not.
the Nebraska's fans' feelings in the chat right
Yeah.
now. I can feel
And-
it.
I'm
look,
sorry. I'm not sorry. It's like Notre Dame when they don't join a conference. Like, guys, like it was cool. Y'all were really good like 40 years ago.
You
That
bite
was
your
awesome.
tongue. Notre Dame had a great win yesterday. All right,
Yeah,
And
you
they're
lost
Notre
to
Dame-
Marshall.
And
okay?
actually, wasn't there a bet earlier in here, the over/under? I think from Colin Houston, that the first 3 things you say are going to be bad about Notre Dame.
No, I was actually going to say I thought Notre Dame. It was a great job covering my bet yesterday. I
Me
went
too.
5-1.
I refuse.
I appreciate that, UNLV. Thank you guys. But Notre Dame as well, not running it up at the end. Really appreciate you guys showing your class and not your ass. That's
And
what I'm saying.
now they host Clemson.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
now Colleen.
Yeah.
All right.
You have a
All
shot.
right, Colleen.
Here you go.
All right,
Shock
Colleen.
the world.
Let's play a game called Let's Find Out.
I got a couple
But
of donuts
speaking about
here.
that, Blaine, if you were Kirk Ferentz, how
Okay.
would you fire? Like, let's say, like I'm your son that walks in. Like, how would you fire me? Like, what if
Oh.
like the '80s, like Kirk? Listen, like Brian's, stealing sandwiches
Yeah.
out of the fridge
Yeah.
again, and the offense
For sure.
sucks. We got to fire him.
So first of all, I'd call you in my office like through the telephone, right? So like when you walk in, I'd be behind my desk, like looking at a family picture, but like your face would be gone out of the family picture, and then I'd turn around and look at you and be like, "I had a son once. I loved him so much." And then I'd be like, and then I'd call my assistant and you do the normal, "Hey, son, what you want to drink? Dad, can I get a coffee? Will someone bring this man a water, please?" And you hand him a water, and then you kind of go through the stats where we started. Let's go this spring.
When you were born, we started when you were born, and then we
were
end
6
with
years
the
old.
passing
You're supposed
percentage.
to run a slant. You didn't do it. You lost a Pee Wee championship. First mistake there. Now I can't trust you. And even if you're 6 years old, I can't trust you. All right, I'm looking into the future. Let's go to high school ball. You can't even make it all state 2 years. And I'm supposed to believe you. I'm literally giving you all the tools. You're the one white kid out there with skill. All right, son, look, I love you. But your mother called me. It's just time to give me your playbook.
So here's my question: when Brian Ferentz's picture is removed from the family portrait, does he already have the new OC's picture taped on there or not?
He has his sister's
Yeah, no,
face.
it just says TBD on it, to be decided on the picture. It's not a face yet, unless we got him hired already. Other than that, it just say TBD.
Blade said
you
he'd say,
still
I
have
had a son once.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a good.
All
one.
right,
That's
all
what
right.
he's done.
Speaking about having a son,
Oh, you're talking about South Carolina A&M, weren't you?
yeah. Speaking about having a son, Jimbo Fisher has a son. And that's a story for another day. But they lost to South Carolina last night, guys. You wanted to. hats off to Shane Beamer.
Yep.
You won the game. But come on, dude. What type of voodoo magic is Shane Beamer doing over there in Columbia? Will Levis doesn't play. Kentucky runs a reverse first play of the game. They fumble it. South Carolina recovers it at the 2 to go in. This game, obviously, Max Johnson's hurt. Haynes King, the panicker, a.k.a. Jody Foster's in there. First play of the game, you run the kickback for the touchdown because nobody at A&M wants to tackle anybody. And this is what I've said about A&M. Everybody's going to talk about the offense, and the offense has been a problem. A&M has a total complementary football problem. Like, once again, for another week, 2 out of the 3 phases, you could really probably say 3 out of the 3 phases, did not play well. There is no picking each other up at A&M. They are 2 out of 3 are playing bad pretty much every game. Defensively, I didn't think it was horrible, but you had some big third downs where you just lost Stogner in coverage, or you let them break a couple tackles when it was going to be a punting situation and extend drives. The South Carolina offense isn't good enough unless you help them. Hell, Jaheim Bell tried to help you out the whole first half, and you still couldn't find a way to win it. But special teams was bad. The defense was bad in big moments. And the offense wasn't able to get in any sort of a rhythm outside of A-Chain making a couple plays. And if you just watch the way Haynes King throws the ball, that should A&M season could be defined by Haynes King throwing motion. It's ugly, it's goofy, it underachieves, and it makes me feel weird when it's happening.
Hey, look, the South Carolina-Texas A&M game was a lot like Syracuse-Clemson. South Carolina jumps out to an early lead, but then what do they do in the second half? They were able to score 2 touchdowns in a way that Syracuse wasn't able to, because Texas A&M threw for more yards, rushed for more yards, and won the time of possession. But when you look at the turnovers, I mean, South Carolina did enough to hold on. It's a huge win for Shane Beamer. 5-2 right now, boys. 5-2 for South Carolina. Next 2 games versus Missouri and at Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
we could be looking at a 7-2 South Carolina team.
God.
Then you go on the road to Florida. You figure out a way to beat Florida on the road. We could be looking at an 8-2 South Carolina team before you play Tennessee and Clemson.
Well, it's funny to me because earlier in the year we're sitting here looking at South Carolina and Mississippi State, and we're like, wow, Mississippi State could legitimately be 7-2 up to this point. South Carolina, you're looking like 2-5 right now with the way it was going before they went to Kentucky. Now it's kind of flipped. Now you're looking at Mississippi State and you're like, man, Mississippi State, same old Mississippi State. It's the same old Mississippi State we're used to. And then South Carolina is trying to raise their profile with a team that is not nearly as good as what they're going to be in a couple years under Shane Beamer. But I think what South Carolina hasn't done is they haven't lost the game. South Carolina is making other teams lose the game, and that's what A&M is doing. And guys, right now, and I know they've got Jimbo there on a 10-year, $200 trillion contract, and they promised him the first 2 sons of the King of Texas when it happens. But guys, at what point Jimbo's going to have to bring in an OC? You're going to have to, and you're going to have to get the quarterback situation figured out. I think it's got to be Max Johnson. I think it's got to be the guy.
Yeah,
you saw Connor Wegman come in. I mean, he wasn't the saving grace, Johnny Unitas mixed with Joe Montana and Cam Newton that everybody in College Station was thinking he was when they're talking about bench Max and bring in Connor Wegman. Well, you saw it, and guess what? It was mid. It was mid. The kid's going to be good. He's got talent. He's not ready right now. Will he be ready next year? I don't know, but I'm telling you, Max Johnson needs to be the quarterback next year for A&M. They need to have a new offensive coordinator, and it needs to get a lot better, which I think it will with the talent in that recruiting class they had last year. Classes don't come in. Football is not baseball. It's not basketball. 80% of your freshman class can't come in and just start balling. That's not how it works. You're going to see the returns from that class from last year next year for Texas A&M with what they're returning up front. But if they don't get the quarterback situation figured out, which I know we say that every year about Texas A&M, and they don't bring in an OC to kind of bring in a little bit of a different flavor to that Texas A&M offense, I don't see this team doing what they are paying Jimbo to do.
Look, I mean, the more you look at Jimbo Fisher and the more I look at Jimbo Fisher, I'm slowly rubbing my eyes and starting to see Kevin Sumlin. I mean, and no one wants to hear that, but it's the truth.
Well,
Kevin's had a better record for him, the amount of games they played right now. And I know, I mean, look, what does he want? What does Jimbo want?
No, I'm with you. What does A&M won? They haven't won the SEC. They haven't won the SEC West. They haven't won the Natty
You want to pay him all
World
this
War
money?
II.
You want to do this? He's the quarterback guru. They don't even have a guy who can throw correctly. You know what I'm talking about? He's a quarterback guru. Haynes King, not good. Max did well. I mean, Max fits into the offense, but he's not in there balling, just overachieving at quarterback. You sign all these 5-stars, and you're losing to South Carolina.
Yeah, I hear you, Blaine, and it's a bad loss, and the loss to Appalachian State at home was a very bad loss. I understand why Texas A&M fans are so disappointed, but I will say to that fan base, look to Michigan. Look to Michigan, because we said all of the same things about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is going to come in and save the Michigan program. He's the quarterback guru. He had Andrew Luck, and he's the one who's going to develop the talent. And then he did it for 6 years, 7 years. He didn't do it, right? They're losing to Michigan State, can't beat Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes, can't make the playoff or win the Big Ten. And a lot of Michigan fans were ready to move on from Jim Harbaugh, and they had good reason to feel that way. And then all of a sudden last year, he breaks through. He figures it out, even with Cade McNamara at quarterback, finds a way to beat his rival finally, makes the college football playoff. This year has things on a roll. So at least for Texas A&M, they can say, look, Jimbo Fisher has underperformed. He's not worth what we're paying him right now. But at least he has those top 5 recruiting classes in his back pocket. He has the number 1 right now. He's able to offset some of these losses with that. And if, like Jake always says, if you can stack a couple of these recruiting classes on top of each other, I think that he will find that long-term quarterback solution and can still turn this program around.
Yeah, and if you look at A&M's schedule next year, you do get Bama at home. You do get Auburn at home. I believe LSU goes to A&M. I believe they do the last game of the season. I'll have to double check that. This year, LSU goes to
A&M.
A&M.
Look at A&M's schedule right now. You got Ole Miss, Florida, Auburn, UMass, and LSU. Ole Miss and Florida at home. You go to Auburn, you have LSU at home.
That's this year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So next year, you're going to go to Florida, to LSU.
No, I thought LSU just went to Florida. I thought LSU beat Florida down in the swamp.
Oh, we're talking about LSU and A&M here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so LSU's going to A&M this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A&M will go to LSU next year. A&M will go to Arkansas.
And they get Bama.
They will have Alabama at home next year, but that ain't going to matter.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Any other college question? Penn State, nice win coming back over Minnesota after what happened to them in Michigan, especially going down 3-0, not scoring a point in the first quarter. They're able to rally back, end up pulling away 45-17. If you got any more college football questions in the chat, throw them to us right now before we transition to the NFL. There's some great games on today, some good matchups. Feel great about the betting. Tinder Hot XYZ's back, adult dating site. Nice, sweet, appreciate that. But no, guys. Anything else in college before we move on from you guys that you saw yesterday?
Great
I
day
got
of
to shout out
games, man.
Tulane right now. Tulane was another.
Tulane,
Tulane.
another nice win over Memphis. Dude,
Yeah.
they were up 35-0, and Memphis came all the way back. They ended up winning that game by 10.
And Cincinnati too.
Yeah,
Cincinnati with a big win. You know,
look, that game was wild because Cincinnati defensively put on a clinic for the first 3 quarters of that game. Cone, I believe you had Cincinnati money line.
I did,
think.
yes.
I mean, they were up 29-14. I mean, they went out 17-0. They were dominating them on the defensive side. Ben Bryant continues still to overthrow guys that are wide open. There were multiple times yesterday where Cincinnati missed wide open wide receivers.
Yeah, no doubt. Also, Penn State. Man, Penn State really bounced back. I know this isn't an elite Minnesota team that they just beat, but they were able to bounce back, and I think at least proved that they're still a good football team. Like, if Penn State collapses in that game and loses to Minnesota by 10, all of a sudden I think you have a lot more questions in the Big Ten. Okay, is Michigan really that good, or did Penn State just do what they've done prior seasons, fall apart? You heard that Gesicki, the tight end for the Dolphins, text James Franklin, said, hey, just like in 2016, we lost to Michigan. We came back the next week, beat Minnesota. We ended up winning the Big Ten. I still believe in you this season. Big bounce back for Penn State. And now you're going to get the Buckeyes. And let's just see. Look, obviously, I don't know what the point spread in that game is going to be. It's going to be a lot in favor of the Buckeyes. But at least Penn State was able to bounce back and say, you know what, we're still a good football team, and we can still win the conference.
One team, I want to bring up one thing, Gesicki, the skedaddle king, is Duke just beats Miami. Congrats to Duke.
Yeah.
Dude, Mike Elko, speaking of Texas A&M, I mean, that's their DC last year. Goes to Duke. They've had a hell of a year. So, I mean, you look at Duke, you look at Kansas, you look at Syracuse.
21.
I mean,
Daniel Jones is balling in the
What's going to happen
NFL?
next year? Is Northwestern going undefeated? Like what?
I mean, I don't know.
What's going to happen?
This isn't your dad's Duke football team, man.
No,
it's
no.
not.
Daniel Jones playing good. Duke's winning, like in football. Like, what's happening? All right, real quick, let's see. Travis Elrod says, predict the 4 college football playoff teams as of right now. Right now, where it stands, I'm going to go Georgia. I'm going to go Clemson. I'm going to go Ohio State. And, fellas, I'm going to go give me TCU.
You don't believe in that. Why won't you just say Bama? Why won't you just say
no,
Bama?
No, dude. I think
I can see
we have a bet. We have a $100 bet.
Alabama.
We have a $100 bet that Bama's going to lose one of at Ole Miss or at LSU. We have a $100 bet, and that's going to happen.
I would say the same 3, but my last one instead of TCU will be Alabama.
How about Clemson, Tennessee, Michigan, and TCU?
Clemson, Tennessee, Michigan, and TCU. Wow, Desmond Howard, great pick.
Whoa. That isn't as bad as his.
No. His was bad. I've got Pittsburgh State, Bishop Sycamore, a guy with a solo cup and a piece of gum, and Judge Judith Shanlin. Those are my 4 that are going to make the playoff. I'm Desmond Howard. Kick me the ball. Ian Bowen, why can't USA beat Troy? I don't know. I don't know why we can't score touchdowns. I don't know why we can't have nice things. We had a shot. We could have backdoored our way in the Access Bowl. Number 1 group of 5 team. Cincinnati, get on out of here. Tulane, what? Come on, man. But y'all blew it. Kane, I need a touchdown. The defense shows up. We never lost to Troy. We didn't fall for the Trojan horse. Is that what they did? Did they come down to Mobile and everybody was just hiding in a horse until kickoff? I mean, God, come on, Kane. I've been gassing y'all up too. I'm like an idiot.
You should have played him at
Daddy.
Should have played him at Troy
like a redheaded stepchild.
You should have played him at Troy. They can't hold home field advantage.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Desmond Howard had the blind school that beat Western Colorado. Well, you know what they said about the school for the blind? It was supposed to be really nice, but nobody ever found it.
Yeah,
it's just the truth.
That's awful.
It's the truth. It's like the school for the deaf, Blaine. Like they built it and did all that. Nobody ever heard about it.
Look, Helen Keller's not real. She's not a real person.
I'll have you know she's an inspiration to a whole generation.
How'd she learn? How'd she learn anything? If you're blind and deaf, how do you learn anything?
I'm starting to be on Blaine's side.
No. How do you learn anything? We're just gonna throw things at him.
I mean, I don't think you're crazy thinking that. The JJ, what's up, man? Good morning. Let's see. John Kruger, #Beamer Ball. Yep. I mean, look, catching the breaks. You either catch the breaks or get broke on. And South Carolina's catching the breaks. It's one of those things where you've caught so many breaks, though, you're kind of worried about like next year. Like, because you always feel like there's that. You can only go to the well and believe me, as an Auburn fan, trust me on this. You can only go to the well for Lady Luck so many times. When does it turn around? That's the real question you have to be asking. That's why you kind of wake up. It's like on that movie, The Dictator, when he changes all the words like for Aladdin to mean like positive and negative. And so he like looks at him. He's like, don't worry, you're HIV Aladdin. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, look. Like he doesn't know it's positive or negative. Right now, I just don't. It's a weird time.
There's not a fan base like. If South Carolina fans start believing, all right, this is where things get dangerous. All right, this is where like there's not like a fan base that will believe more than South Carolina. If they start winning games, I'm telling you.
I don't know. Tennessee's already made a commemorative book, and we're 7 weeks into the season.
Well, yeah,
did y'all
Tennessee
see that?
Was selling grass.
The commemorative 2020. They beat Bama like look.
Tennessee did that.
Yes, it's commemorative book.
Never mind. I take them out of my playoff. Then they're already happy.
Grass from the field.
They're already happy.
Yeah, but no, I look, and that was the first time South Carolina's beaten A&M. So that was good to get over that hurdle there for South Carolina. 2 teams. Obviously, we know that were additions to the SEC. But guys, let's get to the NFL.
Let's do it.
Hey, remember, if you do make a donation, we'll read that question first. Even if it's about college, that's okay.
Did you boys start your day off with Black Rifle coffee like I did?
I did. Look, sometimes you got to pull out the rifle and let the glizzy get busy.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'll tell you what, this stuff is great.
New sponsor of the show. Very excited for Black Rifle as well. DraftKings, the whole shebang, stamps.com, Epic Will, Good Ranchers as well. Make sure you check out all those guys. All right, let's start out. Falcons, Bengals. Guys, the Falcons are down. They're starting 2 corners. Joey B and the crew back to 3-3. You know, you had the nice win down in New Orleans. Jamar Chase, he always balls when he crosses Louisiana state line. So does Joey B. The Bengals are, I believe, they're 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is at 47.5. I really like the over in this game for some reason with the injuries that the Bengals have had on defense. And Marcus Mariota, with what they're doing with the zone read and the RPO there, if they are tanking, it is the worst job of tanking ever. I think this game could be a little bit closer than what people think. But if I had to bet it, which I'm probably not going to bet this one, I'll read my bets at the end. I would like the over it at 47.5 here, guys.
I'm excited about the over as well. I'll have that more in my picks. But this Falcons team, Marcus Mariota has proven to be more than just efficient. I mean, he's been very good. Last week, I know the 49ers had a lot of pieces out on defense. I know that. I know Nick Bosa wasn't in the game, but Marcus Mariota acted like he couldn't make a mistake. And he was leading the charge like he was Joe Montana or something. So I like the over here. I think the Bengals still win this football game at home, but look to the over.
I can get Falcons plus 10.5, even with 2 corners down. I mean, love that. 10.5 in the NFL is, if you win by more than that, you're basically kicking someone's ass. But Marcus Mariota, you see a guy who has grown, right? Grown throughout his career. He's taking checkdowns. He's not doing too much. He's not pushing the pedal too much. Falcons, I don't know why you're doing this. To be honest, don't know why you're winning games. Look, Bryce Young's not going to be past number 2. Yeah. He's not. Yeah. He's not making it past 2.
I don't know. They got 2 defensive. They got Will Anderson, 1, Jalen Carter, 2 right now, Alabama and Georgia. But Blaine, I'm going to ask you this. Who has had the better resurgence here? Geno Smith or Marcus Mariota? I think those are 2 of the best stories. And I mean, Geno's balling,
I think
Geno's balling.
Geno is playing great football. And I think that every single week Seahawks fans look at that. They say, yeah, it was the right move to move on from Russell Wilson. It really just was. It's starting to look like that. I know it's only a half season sample size with him at Denver right now, but the way Geno Smith, and I told you guys, I told you in the preseason, it was one of the preseason games, Geno Smith was throwing the football all around the yard. And I had to take a double take. I was like, okay, I know this is preseason. Don't overreact to this, but he's making throws I wasn't seeing him make when he was with the Jets. Now all of a sudden it's carried over into the regular season. I mean, I think Geno Smith is playing great football, but if you think it's Marcus Mariota, the way he played last week.
I don't think either one's wrong. I think Marcus does more on the ground than Geno does, and Geno's better through the air than Marcus is consistently down the field. I mean, but again, when you look at the pieces, the Seahawks have really, you have DK Metcalf, right? But Kenneth Walker coming on the scene outside of that. I mean, the Seahawks don't have Tyler Lockett's a beast down the field.
Hold on. You have Tyler Lockett. You have Noah Fant. Like the Seahawks.
Well, Noah Fant isn't exactly what everybody thought.
Noah Fant is They just don't throw him the ball. Noah Fant was the Broncos' go-to guy.
Yeah, but Blaine, what I'm saying is when you look at Seattle's weapons and then you look at the Falcons, who now don't have Cordarrelle Patterson.
The Falcons have nobody.
They have no. That's what I'm saying.
They have a young Drake London.
He's playing well.
Just figured out how to score.
Drake is, but I mean, anytime you're relying on a rookie, I mean, the Jamar Chases, that stuff just doesn't happen. But in aggregate, the Seahawks, even though I could make the argument that the Falcons roster overall is a whole hell of a lot better than the Seahawks roster is overall. The Seahawks probably had the worst roster in the NFL from a depth standpoint coming in to this year. But we do have some good talk in the chat here about OBJ, guys. Now that the Bills missed out on Christian McCaffrey, we read the report where they offered a 2nd-round pick for Christian. They weren't going to go any further than that. Now that the Bills missed on him, do you think they go after OBJ to add another weapon there for Stephon Diggs and those guys, for the Bills who already have a ton of weapons? Where do you think OBJ ends up?
Blaine?
That's tough. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back to the Rams. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a New York Giant. I saw him and Saquon kind of chopping it up on Twitter the other day. Talking about a family reunion, but if it's me, it has to be the Packers. Like the Packers, you should be doing everything you can to get Odell Beckham Jr. right now. Because other than Allen Lazard, and Allen kind of stays beat up a little bit, OBJ can come in there. And I know he had a lot of injuries and his knees aren't the same, but he's still a phenomenal football. He can still go get it. He can still come in and change your program and change your offense. And to have a guy who's experienced like Aaron Rodgers and Odell, who's grown up a lot from kicking nets on the sideline to freaking out. You really don't see that anymore from OBJ. He's kind of on that upper echelon of his career because of wisdom and stuff like that. So it's me. If the Bills get OBJ, it's over.
It's over.
It's over. You don't even have to watch another NFL game. The Bills are going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's what it is. If
yeah.
OBJ goes to the Packers, this Packers team will be a completely different team on offense because the Packers right now are looking like they want to out physical people, running the ball and stop the run. But once you get into a place where you have an Odell Beckham Jr. who connects mentally on the same waypoint as Aaron Rodgers, that is deadly scary.
Yeah, we got a good fantasy question here from Mike RFF. Lifestyle. Is it worth starting Kenyon Drake on the Ravens? Or are you starting Kenyon Drake after the big week he had, last week? Watching him do his thing, do you think it's worth the start this week, Blaine?
KJ Dobbins out again.
It just feels like one of those things where it's a trap. It's a trap. I mean, I don't know. The Kenyon Drake all year has not been really anything, and he comes out and does that last week for the Ravens. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what was his other option? Is this Kenyon Drake and who?
No, it's just Kenyon Drake. He said, should I start Kenyon Drake?
I mean, after last week's performance, I don't know why you wouldn't play him. Just know Kenyon Drake is very spotty when it comes to fantasy. It's one of those things you can't really trust. If you have an option that's more, secure, the stable back you can play, then yeah, I would go down that road. But if you need a hit or miss, either a big pop or kind of nothing, then yeah, I would go with Kenyon Drake.
I don't mind starting him there because the Ravens' identity. They want to run the football. KJ Dobbins now out for another 4 to 6 weeks after missing last year and after missing a couple games. He's staying hurt right now, and you have the Browns at home. They're going to run the football. Nick Chubb and the pin and pull game and all that. This may get into who runs the football better. I know Lamar Jackson's going to make his plays, but I don't mind that play right there in fantasy.
Yeah. Kilodrone says, do Booster Club messages disappear after a while? Sucks if so. I don't know how that works in the chat. I don't know if comments stay there after the show. I would have to put on Cerebro and really dive into the computer or go Ant-Man. So that they disappear after a while, I'm guessing?
No, they don't. I believe they don't. Not on this in the YouTube chat. I believe so.
That's what he's talking about.
I don't know about on this one.
Okay. That's right. We're on StreamYard. I'm losing my mind. All right. Let's go Lions Cowboys, guys. Justin Decker, $5 donation. Guys, give me a team to draft today. I need a DraftKings win. I'd have to look at the value of each one, so we made sure that you didn't go over. Blaine, why don't y'all maybe just pull up the DraftKings daily fantasy thing? Let's see if we can't put a team together for our good friend Justin. Don't call me the upper decker. Lions Cowboys, guys. I look at this number. Dak Prescott coming back. The Lions, obviously DeAndre Swift out now, being ruled out for this game. Blaine, sorry. Again, it just
no way he's out.
Yeah, God, I shouldn't have said anything.
Swift is ruled out.
I shouldn't have said anything. Why do I have to go open my big mouth? Why do I have to go in my big mouth? Why? I did. There it is. I told myself
I would have found out.
Yeah, I know you're going to put Damon Pierce in. I bet. All right.
It kind of depends on what gameplay you're doing when it comes to DraftKings. Are you doing the classic?
Let's go. Justin, tell us. Are you doing classic or are you doing which form are you doing? Let us know. And we'll get on it. Blaine, just keep that up. But guys, Lions Cowboys, the over-unders at 49.5. It's got the Cowboys minus 6.5. Dak Prescott coming back after the Eagles were able to beat him last week. His thumb looks ready enough to go. The Lions, we know they've been beat up. Jared Goff and coming and playing the Cowboys defense, guys, with Micah Parsons and some of the freaks they have running around on there, Trevon Diggs. Why would I not buy this up and take the under at 52? Why would I not do that?
Yeah, I think that's a good play, or maybe even buy the Lions up to 7.5 and see if they can keep it within a touchdown. My biggest worry is Jared Goff sitting back there in the pocket with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence coming after him. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown healthy for this game? Do you guys know?
Let's look that up. I know
think he's back.
I want to say he's back. I want to say Hawkinson's back as well.
Gotcha.
Blaine, what do you think?
This game, I don't know which Lion team's going to show up.
That's the question.
Which Lions team's going to show up? Is the one that was scoring the most points in the NFL 3 or 4 weeks in? Our team who can't score a point against the Patriots. I know the Patriots have a good defense, but I mean they're not God's army. So I mean you're still NFL players out there running around. The thing about it is Jameson Williams playing this game.
I haven't seen an update on JMO.
Okay,
the one I saw
playing
was
this
Swift.
game. I think JMO right now, fantasy-wise, wouldn't be a bad pickup for whoever kind of needs him. But I feel like Dak Prescott comes in this game and sends a message, of who he is and what guy he is and, how important he was to this team. So I'd like the Cowboys to cover here, especially with no DeAndre Swift. I'm sure the Sun God is probably playing. I haven't heard
Mhm.
anything on why he wouldn't play. I know he had an ankle the other week, but I'm pretty sure he's playing. Jared Goff will forever be Jared Goff. He's just a watered down Michael Phelps.
A
you know,
watered
yeah.
down Michael.
Yeah, other than that, I like the Cowboys here, and I like the Cowboys to cover. That defensive line is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, man, Cone, this just feels like a 27-10 game to me. Like you're gonna see in my bet, I may have taken
You might be right.
an underdog bet. I just again,
But then Jared Goff. I mean, I know Swift's out, but then Jared Goff. I mean, they could go put up 34 points and Cowboy and win 37-34 or something. I don't know. It's like what Blaine said. I don't know who's going to show up.
yeah, that's been the problem for the Lions. All right, we have some questions here about fantasy on who to play. Let me see if I can get back up. So I can get back up here and see it. Let's see. JJ asked Crane & Co. Start Tua or Tom Brady. Brady playing meh lately due to his problems, and Tua coming back from concussion, being high risk.
Brady. Start
Man,
Brady on the road
Tua.
at Carolina. No.
I really, the Spidey senses are tingling for Tua right now because they're going to get rid of the ball quick. All right, they're going to try and not put him in harm's way, but Tyreek and Jalen and Gesicki, they were catching balls from a guy named Skyler. All right,
Yeah.
They're tired of that. All right, and I haven't seen anybody named Skyler that can throw the passes I need you to throw for us to be able to win these type games, for you to be able to beat the Bills, if that makes sense.
Well,
I mean,
let me
Teddy
tell you-
Bridgewater, we know Teddy Two Gloves came in and done his thing, but Tua fits this offense really, really well. I got Jalen Waddle on my fantasy team. I'm expecting a big day. Here's the thing. It's a chance. It's a risk. It is risky with Tua because he breaks like Mr. Potato Head, it seems like every Sunday. But Tom Brady, it has just been has just been meh.
Yeah, and sometimes that that guaranteed 16, that's what you need. Because let me tell you about a time I played Tua and he got 2 points, knocked out in the
Okay.
first half,
Well,
and then I almost lost a team morning wire. Let me tell you about that story, okay? It hurts.
Don't put that evil in the air right now, David. As a guy who did pick up Tua off the waiver wires and who is starting Tua today to kind of handcuff Jake with Jalen Waddle.
Ooh.
Why are you always trying to handcuff me, John
Well, see,
Wayne
you have
Gacy?
that's a little bit different strategy. That's a little different strategy.
Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of options. It was him or I got to watch Jimmy Garoppolo be just mid for 4 quarters. So Tua, this is still Tyreek Hill. Let Tyreek Hill freak out for a little bit. I just need 20 points from you, Tua. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Don't
I
need
just
that.
don't just the thing
A lot
about
of
it is,
handing
just
off.
no one
A lot
touch
of
him.
handing off. Let's
No one
decoy.
touch
Let's
him. Don't
protect
breathe
Tua.
on him.
Let's protect
Hopefully a
Tua.
fan doesn't throw a sunflower seed on the field, so I watch him tear his ACL on a sunflower seed or something like that. Just
He
make
says,
it through the game, please.
Sean Ketstever says, hey, just got here. Have we covered Oregon State? Mentioned them very briefly. I actually mentioned the matchup you have at the end of the year with Oregon going out to Corvallis. I know Oregon State with the backup quarterback was able to do their thing. We're going to keep monitoring them. Coach Norman and the Beavers doing a hell of a job out there. But speaking about doing a hell of a job after a slow start, Mike Vrabel and the Titans, guys, leading the division with the Colts coming in, who are 3-2-1. The old countdown clock there for the Colts. I love the Titans in this game. Let's see, they're -2.5. The over-under is 41.5. I wouldn't play with the over-under because the Colts are so schizophrenic. But for some reason, I really, really like the Titans in this game. I feel like Tannehill's actually going to have a pretty big day through the air, as crazy as that sounds. I think the Titans may end up winning this one, guys, by a touchdown to 10 points. I think you see King Henry. They want to establish themselves in the division. I mean, you got Jonathan Taylor, you got Derrick Henry. I just believe Matt Ryan continues to put the ball in harm's way. I know he just passed Dan Marino for the most, passing yards or whatever all time. That's fantastic. He's had a great career, but you're coming down here to Tennessee when the Vols are hot. The Titans look to be kind of rejuvenated a little bit, and even Vandy only lost an SEC game on the road by 3 points. It's a great time to be playing football in Tennessee right now if you're the home team.
3 straight wins for the Titans, but 2 straight wins for the Colts. That's why I'm a little torn on this one. I mean, Matt Ryan has proven he can play bad football for 3.5 quarters and then just touchdown at the very end of the game and break Dan Marino for 7th all time or something. I don't get it, but I think that the under might not be a bad play here just because the Titans are going to run the football. If Jonathan Taylor's back, even if he's having success, the Colts will run the football. So maybe look at the under, and I think Tennessee finds a way to win the game.
If I'm
Blaine, how good of a game is Derrick Henry going to have today?
If I'm the Titans right here, I'm probably throwing it a lot more than I've thrown it all year.
Oh, you're playing against
I think I'm getting in a lot of shotgun. Just Derek to pass
Screen.
Derrick Henry
Let's
pass
swing it
protect.
around a little bit today, guys. Let's let Ryan prove him wrong today. Can we let
Prove
Ryan
you
prove him
wrong.
wrong today?
Prove you wrong.
The doubters, the haters out there saying you were a receiver in college. How are you playing quarterback in the NFL for the Titans? Prove them wrong today. I think Ryan Tannehill has a big day, maybe over 300 passing yards. I think Derek might have 40, 50 rushing yards. Definitely no touchdowns. I hope every time the Titans get in the red zone, some backup running back is there to score points.
Yeah,
Tua, throw it away. No. All right, so we got the Packers and the Commanders, guys. Look, I've got Aaron Jones. This Packers offense, it's getting to the point, and we talked about this before the year. I know Aaron and them don't have a lot of weapons. I mean, Aaron Jones and Dylan have been a decent 1-2 punch, even though Dylan has struggled to get that much going, and they just don't give Aaron Jones the ball enough. I still do not understand why they don't give him the ball more. But you don't have a ton of weapons on offense. When Allen Lazard is your game breaker, you know that you're in trouble. I do, however, Heineke starting for the Commanders, which may not be a bad thing for Washington. That may not be the worst thing that could possibly happen. Carson Wentz typically plays about 5-6 games during the season and has some tragic injury or something that takes place to get him out. The over-unders at 41.5, guys. I know the Commanders' defensive line's good. I know that Carson Wentz gets hit more than any other quarterback in the NFL, even though he's not playing, but that shows you how good the offensive line is. I like the over here. I like the over in this game. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. I really do.
Take the Packers. Packers bounce back win. They're -4.5 right now at -115. Take the Packers.
Yeah, I like the Packers too. If you can get this game at -2.5, I would go ahead and do that. Just smells like a field goal win for the Packers.
That's what Baby Cone has. Packers -2.5, -159.
I'm talking about Ace.
All right, let's see. Ask Crane & Co. Can you create a parlay for me? 5 players to score an anytime touchdown. Here's what I'll give you. Give me Derrick Henry.
No.
Give me Aaron Jones.
Are you just naming your players?
Give me Blaine. Would you stop?
Austin Eckler.
Give me Austin Eckler, of course. Give me Nick Chubb.
How about Lamar Jackson?
And then give me Mark Andrews. How about those 5? That's some bang for your buck.
Let me give you
That's some bang for your buck.
Let me give you the winning parlay here. 1, I'm taking Saquon Barkley. 2, I would take Nick Chubb for sure. 3, give me Jamar Chase. 4,
Travis Kelce.
Go ahead and give me CeeDee Lamb.
Ooh. Okay.
And 5, go ahead and give me Austin Eckler.
I like that. All right, guys, let's go rapid fire here. Remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do go live every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. Got some great guests lined up this week, guys. I'm pretty close to finding a day that Kublik can come on in the morning. I was talking to him yesterday. Excited to get Cole on and obviously Tom Luganville, big game boomer, our typical guys that we're rolling out there. It's a great time of year, but let's go a little rapid fire here. All right. Bucks at Panthers. I mean, the Panthers, PJ Walker at quarterback. Good luck with that. Speaking about Tom Brady, how much does this team want to get up and play? Like, we all talk about being professional in the NFL, and everybody wants to be a professional. But how excited are you right now if you're the Panthers players? Christian McCaffrey's gone. PJ Walker's at quarterback. I mean, the over-under in this game's at 39. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to buy this thing up a little bit, maybe make it to 42, somewhere around there, and probably take it, gentlemen. I just don't see a way in which the Panthers can score enough, regardless of how good the defense plays, to end up stopping Tom Brady and that crew from winning this game. I mean, the Bucks are a 13-point favorite on the road, guys. That's a ton in the NFL.
Well, they're not playing well. That's the thing. The Bucks haven't been playing well, which gives me, which tells me that I believe in Tom Brady even more to go on the road and cover those 2 touchdowns, because they lost at the Steelers last week. They lost 3 of their last 4. This, I think, could be a pivotal game for the Bucs season to get back on track, go in there and blow out a Panthers team who's just fire sailing all of their players right now. I think Tom Brady and the Bucs figure something out today that really sets the trajectory for the rest of the season.
I think Panthers cover in this game.
You do?
You like the
cover
Panthers?
the 13?
Everything's pointing to the Bucs just running them out of the stadium, but I think the Panthers cover in this game. I really do. I mean, you can buy the Panthers all the way up to 16.5. I think the Panthers defense is good. Panthers defense can play. I don't know if J.C. Horn's back, the corner from South Carolina, who's a talented player, but this Bucs offensive line has to figure it out. That's the missing piece.
Mhm.
Receivers, they're fine. I mean, you got Mike Evans.
Is
You
Chris
got
Godwin healthy?
Chris Godwin's healthy.
Okay.
I mean, you got Rudolph at tight end. I mean, you got Leonard Fournette at running back. I mean, you have good players on this offense. I mean, you got the GOAT at quarterback. The offensive line has to figure it out. And Tom Brady can only say enough and do so much to where they have to do your job. You do your job. The defense is good enough. This is a playoff caliber team, but I do think the Panthers have some fight in them that people don't think about. PJ Walker is kind of little scrappy back there at quarterback, so I think the Panthers cover.
Well, you're going to see the Panthers is going to be now screen, quick game. Now screen, quick game, take one shot. We'll see if PJ Walker can do anything running around. I did not watch the UFC fight last night. There was just too much college football on. It was just impossible for me to do that. Giants, Jags, guys. Giants 5-1.
Yep.
Look, a lot of people liking the Giants in this game, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I feel like Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, guys, they're 3-point favorites. Don't think you'd be crazy to take that at 3 or 2.5. The over-under is 43.5. I'm always weird with the over-under in the Giants just because they're so methodical, and it seems like every team starts to play their game where it gets slown out and drawn out. There's not a ton of big plays. I like the Jags at home. The Giants are still playing with house money. 5-1 at this point. I think they lose this one, go 5-2. Jags really need this one bad as well.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars are better than a 2-4 football team, but I'm still shocked at the minus 175 on the money line against a Giants team that's proven to be able to beat really whoever they're playing in many different ways. So I don't know if you're looking for a road underdog right now. Giants at plus 135 is interesting, or just go ahead and buy them up to 3.5. You can even get them up to 4.5 at minus 146 right now.
I mean, who would have thought, guys? Let's be honest. The Jaguars-Giants game might be the best game on a Sunday.
I know.
I'm still looking at this Chiefs 49ers game, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, just Jimmy G. It's Jimmy G playing against Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
why aren't you starting Jimmy G, Blaine? I thought you were going to start him in fantasy.
No.
Just lost
I
belief.
just didn't have another option. I'm starting Tua. So
even with Christian McCaffrey going to the Niners, they said he's going to play today.
We'll see what happens. But I think the difference in this game, I'd buy it down to minus 2.5. But the Jaguars' defense is good.
Yeah,
I mean, Jonathan, you got Allen.
Trayvon Walker's a monster.
You got Trayvon Walker, who's an absolute bridge troll on the defensive line. Like, good luck getting past that. And you have the DBs. I mean, this team is good. I feel like Trevor Lawrence plays a better game. ETN's starting to come into his own. He's starting to get most of these carries as he should. James Robinson's slowly falling out. So I think this will be a great game. But how the Giants are 5-1, I have no idea. Me watching Daniel Jones just makes me sick to my stomach.
Man, he's playing good football right now.
I know,
running,
but I don't know how. I don't know how.
You don't have to know how. You just watch. You enjoy it.
This is the guy who said, I somewhat believe in Daniel Jones. Give him another chance from last year when everybody was writing him off. But just the way everything he does, he's playing good, but it's so ugly.
Yeah,
the way
he's like that chick that's like a 5 but has like the best personality ever. You're like, God,
But but the thing about it is like he's playing good. He's playing good, but it just looks so bad.
I mean, Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls playing like that.
No, Eli looked good playing, like not physically, but like playing in the
pocket. You think he's a good-looking guy?
Like running over, right. Like turning around, like closing his eyes, throwing passes, and just somehow they're catching him.
Look, it's part of it. All right, guys. Browns at the Ravens. Tricky one here. The Ravens have just fallen off a cliff in the second half of games. Yet, when you look at their numbers, they're still overall supposedly the second best team in the NFL. I don't see how that works. But Lamar Jackson at home, the Browns are going to come in and try and absolutely shove it down the Ravens' throat, which I don't think they're going to be able to do coming off a game against the Patriots at home where you let Bailey throw over like 400 yards against you guys and absolutely embarrass you. I do think Chubb scores, but I like the Ravens here. Lamar Jackson's going to run it and throw it to tight ends. I know J.K. Dobbins is out, but we saw what Kenyon Drake was able to do last week. I really do like the Ravens at home. They are a 6.5-point favorite. That is a lot. Do we feel like they're a touchdown? And that number, man, 46, I just feel like this game may be a little bit uglier, a little bit slower paced.
Yeah, divisional matchup here. I think it's going to be close. And I think the team that rushes for the most yards wins the football game, or the team that throws for the most passing attempts loses the football game. Something like that's interesting to look at here.
When you get the Browns plus 245 on the money line. One thing about the Ravens, like they haven't been great against the run. Right? They have not been great, and the Browns are going to do what?
Bro, they're going to run
the ball.
Run it.
Run in.
Nick Chubb all day, baby.
That's exactly right. All right, Jets, Broncos. You got Brett Rippin starting for the injured Russell Wilson for this absolutely explosive Broncos offense. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong team. The Jets going in there, Zach Wilson riding with the fear, the Cougar Hunter. You're looking at them. They're 4-2. Guys, 3-0 on the road here. You got New York as a 1.5 point favorite. You know what? I'd take that up to 2.5. The over under is at 37, which is not a lot of points at all. But looking at both these offenses, I mean, the Jets really, they're a defensive team. I mean, they got Breece Hall and we know about Michael Carter, but really outside of that, they're more methodical, play good defense. Let Sauce Gardner lock down one corner and let's get physical. I feel like it's a low scoring game, but I do feel like the Jets win by a field goal. Don't think you'd be crazy to get that at -2.5, which should be plus money.
What if Rippon comes in and balls?
That's what I'm
What if
taking
Rippon
Broncos
comes in and throws
-2.5.
4 touchdowns, 2 to Judy, 2 to Cortland Sutton? What happens then?
Well, then
You're
I
ri-
don't
you're
know.
ripping
You just
with
saying that
Rippon?
makes
Come
me
on
want to
now.
change my pick. I think. Let me see. Do I have? Ooh, no. You'll see. You'll see what I got. You'll see what I got. Look, I believe in Zach Wilson. Everyone said that I believe in
Whoa.
Zach Wilson. I believe in this
Whoa.
offense. To Blaine against the Broncos. I'm not saying to win the MVP, dog. Calm down over there.
Ride with the fear.
Keep your
dog.
pants on. It's not that part of the show yet.
Ride with the fear.
I do like the Jets by a field goal here, bud.
I don't think you're crazy to say that. You want to hear something crazy? Give me the Broncos -2.5 at +140, boys.
I don't think you're crazy to
Is that
say
going to be a
but
show
here's
bet? Is that going to
That's
be
a
a
show
show
bet.
bet? That's a show bet.
That's a
Ooh,
show bet.
Okay,
I'm
can't wait.
ripping with Ripken or Ripon or whatever his name is. No one
Yeah,
really
you're
knows, but it
ripping
gets
with
the people
Rippon.
going.
Yeah, you're
All
ripping
right.
with Rippon.
I feel like Zach kind of takes a little step back this game. The Denver defense is for real. All right. Maybe some turnovers, some big plays. But I just, for some reason, everyone's like, Jets. They're doing this. Everything's pointing for the win. Sneaky Broncos. Controversy after this with Russell and Ripken. You know, at the end of the day, if he comes out and keeps it, then they should be all right.
You just keeping us on our toes, man. Because if there's one game I thought for sure I could have picked which way you were going to go, it was Jets, Zach
exactly
Wilson,
right.
Broncos
Exactly.
are trash, and then you just come out here and you do something like that.
Exactly. All right. Tell us down in the chat. Do you like Zach Wilson riding with the fear, or do you like Brett Rippon to come in and change the narrative, and maybe we can stop seeing Russell Wilson be a fake person every time on TV? Just be yourself, dog. Just be yourself. It's pretty easy. Texans at Raiders. Guys, the Raiders are 1-4. This may be my best bet on the board today. This may actually be my best bet on the board today. I know the Raiders are a 7-point favorite. I feel like they absolutely dismantle the Texans today. I think Devontae Adams goes off. I think Waller goes off. He's playing right there. He should be playing. I just feel like Josh Jacobs, the whole offense gets it roaring. They get to 2-4. Davis Mills and Lovie Smith, they've been punching above their weight, which is saying a lot, even though they're 1-3-1, 1-2 on the road. I think the Raiders dog walk them.
Man, I think you're right on this one. I feel like this could be one of those games that sort of turns around the Raiders season. Look, they have the pieces, right? I mean, Blaine was saying you got Devontae Adams and you got worse, and that has been the case so far. But I think Josh Jacobs has started to come on strong here. You still have Devontae Adams. Is Waller out this game, Blaine?
I don't know. I had to
was the
drop
one.
him, and
Michael Knowles picked him up.
Michael Knowles picked him up.
Knowles
So I
picked
hope
him
he
up.
is. Yes.
Either way, I don't know about a dog walking, but yes, I agree with you, Jake. I think the Raiders win and cover.
I disagree with both of you.
Surprise.
What is he even said? Houston's been doing what all year?
Punching above their weight.
Punching above the right. They're going to keep it close. They're going to keep it. I can get Houston plus 10.5 in this game. Damian Pierce starting to figure it out. I mean, the Raiders haven't been great in stopping the run on defense. I mean, you got Max Crosby, who's just an absolute star and getting to the quarterback. But other than that, they're still figuring out on offense. Derek Carr, do I believe in you? Realistically, no. Would I trust you in pressure moments? No. Do I trust you to go out there and blow out the Texans, whose defense is pretty good, young but getting better? David Mills, long neck Kirk Cousins out there playing a little bit. Give me Houston to cover 10.5 points on the road against the Raiders, so I can just watch them force feed Devontae Adams.
All right, Emmanuel C.
Yeah.
I have Josh Allen on a bye this week, and I'm struggling between Trevor Lawrence and Matt Ryan to pick off waivers. Who would your pick? Go get Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence at home against the Giants.
Go get Trevor Lawrence. I bet you he runs for a touchdown. Hey, do you remember when we came on here a couple weeks ago, Cone, and I was like, I bet you Clyde Edwards catches a Edwards-Helaire, God, I can never say that name, catches a touchdown pass and runs one in. And, of course, he did.
You were
it's
right.
great. I can give great
He's not
fantasy
starting
advice.
for the Chiefs today, by the way.
You're so right, Jake. You're so right all the time.
Yeah, well, I
Checo's
can
getting
give
a
great
start.
fantasy advice outside of
Congrats,
my own team.
dude.
I need to just talk into it into a tunnel that echoes back to me. But yeah, I would definitely go get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, at home against the Giants defense, whereas Matt Ryan's going to be playing on the road against a Mike Vrabel Tennessee team. I think Trevor Lawrence is a safe bet there.
Yeah, that's what we call in the fantasy world a Joe Biden pick. It's a no-brainer. All right, here we go. Seahawks Chargers. Guys, this game is a little bit weird. We talked about Geno Smith, kind of the renaissance, I guess you would say, not the revolution, but the renaissance for Geno Smith. But the Chargers getting a little bit healthier. Blaine, is Keenan Allen going to play? Is he going to play?
Sore subject, Jake.
Is he going to play, Blaine?
Oh, look at that.
Is he or is
Probably
he not?
Probably not. He's probably not going to play. Kind of looked at it earlier. It says Keenan Allen probably not be slated for today's game. I'm done. I'm so done.
You're just done with it? You're done with Keenan Allen?
Look, man, if you tore your ACL, MCL's acting up or something like that, I can understand it. But, dog, you tweaked your hamstring in the first quarter of the first game, and you still hadn't set on the field.
Well,
at what point are you just hurting the
Devontae
team?
Smith for me, okay, after
Justin
in the
Herbert's
first
out there
game.
and he can't even breathe on the field, dying on the field. And Keenan Allen's out there like, can I get some Gatorade? My hamstring hurts. Then retire. Just retire. Everyone's sick of it. Joshua Palmer's coming for your spot.
Yeah.
You're doing nothing.
All right, Justin Decker, $5 donation. He says, Blaine, I see you working. I need you to release Blaine Patine for this draft number. You're my boy, Blue.
Look, if they'll let me release them, I will. All right.
Do we need to bring Blaine Patine back?
Blaine
Trying to get
Patine.
confirmation from higher ups. I don't know how they feel.
What would Blaine Patine and Flaming Dragon, like, how would those coexist?
Look, you only need 2 people to take over the world. 3 max.
Takes
All
2
right.
to tango.
Look,
All right, speaking of, but do we like the Chargers or Seahawks here? I mean, the Chargers are a 5-point favorite at home. The over/under is 50.5. I mean, initially you look and be like, wow, 50.5, it feels like a lot of points. We've seen what the Seahawks have been able to do offensively. And it's not like the Chargers defense, they've been banged up as well. It's not like they're stopping everybody left and right. But this is one I would probably avoid. But if I had to bet, gun to my head here, I'd probably take the Chargers -5.
-5 to cover that. Yeah, I
like the Chargers in this.
I don't know. I think get the Seahawks bought up to a little over a touchdown because, like we said, Geno Smith has been playing better football.
You can get the Seahawks at 8.5.
And what's
For
that?
what?
That's like -190.
So it's under the cap, under the 200 cap.
These are all under the cap.
Flaming Dragon Emperor Blaine Patine. Now that I don't know if we could handle that.
God, can I make a license plate? I'm gonna make
That's too much power.
There's too much power. Like, we can't give this guy this much power. Look at Blaine's face.
Yeah,
you think that guy would handle power well?
Trust me.
Look into those
You can
eyes.
trust me with power.
Yeah, that's exactly
I don't
right.
power trip. All right, I'll hold things over to trust me. All right, take this pill. Just trust me. All right.
$5 Killer Drone says LSU took their foot off the gas because they heard Kiffin was going to get fired.
That's
Hashtag
funny.
Go Tigers. That's funny.
man.
They're
That's
Killer
funny,
Drone. They
yeah.
have been a second half team. All right, guys, 2 more before we get out of here. Remember, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate you guys. TikTok's blowing up as well. We've had 2 over 1 million in the past couple of days. So go check that out. And on Twitter at Crane Company, CRAIN Company. Chiefs at Niners. Everybody's going to be super excited. Christian McCaffrey going to the Niners. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Jeff Wilson Jr. Holy hell, you got a lot of pieces now. And Jimmy G, we know why he isn't the greatest of all time. He'll check it down. He'll try not to make the big mistake, even though he did run out of the back of the end zone earlier in the year, but that's one time. Jimmy G's typically the difference, not the reason. But we'll see how that goes. Guys, it's just I can't go against the Chiefs here. I can't. Patrick Mahomes, the witch, you lost to the Bills coming off that. You want to kind of rejuvenate yourself. The most interesting number to me, though, here is You've got KC -1. Why not go ahead and buy them up to 2.5? Play for the field goal win. The over-under's at 49. Do we think you got a good feeling the Chiefs are going to score, right? You'd have to have a good feeling the Chiefs are going to score over 17 points. The question is, can they get to 24? And if they do you feel like San Francisco can get to 24 with them? Maybe a 27-24 game that hits on the over at 51.
Biggest question is the 49ers defense. How healthy are they? Because if they're not healthy, if you thought that Marcus Mariota and the Falcons were cooking you up a week ago, just get ready. Get ready. But even if they are healthy, you still have to believe that the Chiefs are going to find ways to score. So can the 49ers keep up with that pace? The line right now, basically a pick 'em. I've got to ride with the Chiefs here.
Yeah, it's one of my show bets. I'm taking Chiefs money line. I believe Bosa is back to playing. And he's an absolute
Bosa's
freak.
back.
There's one guy who can kind of counteract Bosa, and that's Patty Mahomes in the pocket. So if anything, the Chiefs are only getting better. So give me Jimmy G still your quarterback. So give me the Chiefs money line for sure in this game.
All right. Well, let's see. Justin Decker says, I told y'all, look at the record. Flaming Dragons bets suck, but Blaine Patine is a true killer.
Well, Justin Decker, I really appreciate you.
That's
being
a compliment
real
and an
OG
insult in one.
I would be really weary of your house today. It might be on fire already. So slowly pump the brakes, Justin Decker, or your deck just might get burned off.
Look, that's straight from the mouth of Flaming Dragon. You guys know, as somebody who has mistakenly called him the wrong name within the first 5 minutes of every show, which, guys, I promise you next week, not one. No. I want the over-under.
We're getting the Texas A&M syndrome with this. This is what it's turning into. Guys, I swear it's next year, guys.
He's back next week. He's back.
I swear it's next year, guys. We signed 1,000 5-stars. We're going undefeated next year.
Next year. We know that's exactly right. All right. Steelers and Dolphins. All right. We talked about Tua. We talked about this game a little bit very quickly, guys. The Dolphins are a 7-point favorite. The over-under is 44.5. Kenny Pickett is going to play clear and protocol. Do we think the Steelers can score enough? And the Steelers, with that beat-up secondary last week, it obviously didn't affect them that much, but I think you're getting into a little bit of a different animal with Tyreek Meep Hill down there and Jalen Waddle to the end zone.
Dolphins at home. Take them.
I love it. I think Tua and Tyreek Hill have a huge game.
Oh, really?
Just Tua and Tyreek.
Do you have Tyreek Hill?
Huh?
Do you have Tyreek Hill, Blaine? No, you don't have Tyreek Hill.
No, I don't have.
You got Tua, though. You just don't want Jalen Waddle to have a big game.
Well, look, if he does, then Tua will have a decent game. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But I do like the Dolphins to win this game, even after Pittsburgh a big win versus the Buccaneers last week. And I'm telling you, Kenny Pickett should have been starting from week 1. I mean, you try to put Mitch blank-faced Trubisky out there, figure it out, and it just didn't work. So Kenny Pickett is your starter. Go with them. Let's learn from this. All right, and look, I'm telling you, if there's one team, if they win this game, all right, they might get to move up on the board of Blaine, start covering. Let's take the Steelers to start covering some bets.
It's a dangerous game, my friend.
Yeah, we'll see. But we appreciate you guys. Guys, any parting thoughts, last things before we go watch some NFL games?
Man,
I can't wait to watch Jake put his straitjacket on and eat a really hot chip next week.
Anything else, David? Anything but that?
Do you see Baby Cone's first trip to the zoo? So he took the LSU Tigers money line. Trust the signs.
You got to trust the signs.
He's learning from Uncle Jake, man.
Actually,
you got to trust the signs.
I had one of these things called an animal spread pulled. It's where it's
you did what to animals?
A book of witches, and they tell you what the animal you are. And so apparently I'm the hawk. I'm also a hawk, and I've seen a couple hawks today. So
you're taking Iowa?
No, definitely not. The under for sure, but not really. Atlanta Hawks basketball team, are they playing today?
They probably
there are no basketball game on every day. Christmas.
Yeah, that's true. When does college basketball start? It's not started yet, Blaine.
What's a woman?
Yeah, that's the truth. All right, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Like we said, we go live every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. That's 6:30 to 8 Central. Check out everything, all the content on our YouTube page. It's been a lot of fun so far. We will catch you guys in the morning, and until then, enjoy your Sunday. Nothing but Mother Earth, Father Sky, and your good old Uncle Tony. We'll catch you tomorrow.